May we have the roll call, please?
Vice Mayor Baxter, Commissioner Flores, Mayor Marino,
Here.
Commissioner Powell, Commissioner Sachs, Commissioner Wise,
Here.
Commissioner Woodward.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. If you all rise, I've asked Commissioner Powell to do the invocation and lead us in the pledge.
Amen. Praise the Lord, everybody. Dear God, we are meeting today to conduct matters of business for our community. Guide our hearts and our minds in the spirit of fairness. Impart your wisdom upon our activities so that our affairs may reach a successful conclusion. Thank you for being our source of guidance today. In your name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please let the record reflect that Vice Mayor Baxter has joined us. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you. All righty, any additions, deletions, and substitutions?
Madam Mayor, there are no additions, deletions, or substitutions on today's agenda. I will point out one item, though, very briefly on 4B2, just for the sake of the board. This is an item that does require a supermajority vote of the board, so I just want you all to be aware of that. It will require 5 commissioners voting in favor of that item for passage.
Thank you. May I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Oh, I got lots. Commissioner Weiss for the motion and Commissioner Woodward for the second. All in favor? All opposed? See, the motion carries 6-0. Okay, on to consent. Anyone want to pull anything from consent? No? May I have a motion, please? So moved. Again. So we'll go with Commissioner Woodward this time and Commissioner Weiss on the second. All in favor? All opposed? See, that motion carries 6-0. We are now on to the regular agenda. County Attorney, 4A1.
Yes, good morning, thank you. Please bear with me, we have to read this whole motion. County Attorney is seeking advice and is requesting a motion to commence a private attorney-client session in the case of B&B Properties, Inc. versus Palm Beach County, Florida, 50-2019-CA-00860-XXXX-MBAI during the Board of County Commissioners BCC meeting on July 22nd, 2025 at 1 p.m. in the McKeedy Conference Room at 301 North Olive Avenue, 12th floor, West Palm Beach, Florida. The following persons will attend the meeting with the members of the BCC who are present at the time: Todd J. Bonlaren, Interim County Administrator; Denise Kaufman, County Attorney; David Audie, Chief Assistant County Attorney; Sean Fahey, Assistant County Attorney. Pursuant to Section 286.011, subsection 8, Florida statutes, the entire attorney-client session shall be recorded by a certified court reporter who shall record the discussion and proceedings, the names of all persons present at any time, and the names of all persons speaking. No portion of the session shall be off the record. The court reporter's notes shall be fully transcribed and filed with the clerk and shall be made a part of the public record upon conclusion of the pending litigation.
Thank you. May I get a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. Are there any questions? Vice Mayor.
I had a question regarding who is allowed to attend our meeting later, the shade meeting.
I see Mr. Audie just walked in the room, so I'll address that to him, please.
Morning.
I didn't hear the entire question.
question
was it
was-
who may attend?
Yes.
Yes, it's the members of the Board of County Commission, the county administrator, the county attorney, and the attorneys presenting the case. The only other person who can attend is a court reporter who will be taking verbatim notes,
Is this laid out in statute?
specifically laid out in the statute.
And they said that we, the commission, can't decide on any,
Now, as you know, with the sunshine, it's narrowly construed. So if there's not an exemption expressed, none exist.
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor? All opposed? Say the motion carries 6-0. Thank you very much. We are on item 4B1. This is an amendment to number 10, amendment number 10 to risk services contract with Roebling. Does anyone need a staff presentation? Would someone like to make a motion? I have a motion from Commissioner Weiss, a second from Commissioner Sacks. All in favor, all opposed, see that motion carries 6-0. Okay, we are on to 4B2, and all I can say is thank you, thank you, thank you to our fire department, our FDO, to our property division, because what you're looking at here is the purchase and sale agreement for a home on Donald Ross Road, which will bring a fire station to a community that is really in need of it, and because it is closer than 5 miles, will help so many people lower their insurance. We've been working on this since I walked in the door 4 years ago, and the fact that we've been able to come to a conclusion for this is so exciting for so many people. And does anybody want a presentation? Can I hand the gavel over to the Vice Mayor? Vice Mayor, you got it. May I make a motion for item 4B2A and B? This is an agreement for purchase and sale.
Can I get a second? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. See that the motion carries 7-0, or excuse me, 6-0.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Madam
Have your-
I
Madam
can't say
Mayor,
thank you enough.
Madam Mayor, before Ismi leaves, if you don't mind, Ismi,
Ismi, come on back.
can we have you come back for just a minute, please? So, for those of you that don't know, this is Ismi's last workshop meeting before the Board of County Commissioners. And Ismi has been just an absolute incredible addition to the county's team, both as Director of Facilities Management as well as an Assistant County Administrator. She started with us almost to this day, July 29th of 2019, and she joined as Director at that time. She was appointed Director, she joined as Deputy Director and was appointed as Director in December of 2020, and then subsequently in 2023, she became an Assistant County Administrator. Ismi has been engaged in all of the major projects that have been directed by this board and previous boards since 2020. And the list is numerous, but I do want to highlight a few of them just to point out to you the nature of the work that she's involved in. Everything from the Lewis Center Annex to Fire Station 22 in Westlake, which was one of the first of its kind, the Palm Beach County Shooting Sports Complex, Mayor, in your district, PBSO's Forensic Science Facility, our Canyon District Park, our Palm-Tran South expansion, our Judicial Facilities Master Plan, the Glades Road Tower, our PBSO headquarters renovation, our Supervisor of Elections facility, our Central County Housing Resource Center, Fire Station 40 on Military Trail, and more recently, the groundbreaking of Fire Station 49 in Western Boynton Beach, our Marine Unit for PBSO, our Canyon Branch Library, and our Mac Bernard Park. These are just some of the projects that Ismi has been engaged in on behalf of the county and the Board of County Commissioners. She has done it with professionalism. She has been a tough negotiator for us that always has put the county first and gotten some great deals for us along the way. She is one of the most organized people in terms of what she does and her information, one of the most educated people that we've had work for us at the county. and I can tell you that she's going to be sorely missed. That expertise and the way that she's approached her job and continues to this day. She was texting and emailing us at 8 and 9 and 10 o'clock last night on projects as she continues to close out some of the projects that she's been working on. So an incredibly valuable individual. And on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners, County Administration, and every employee that works with her, we had a few things that we wanted to present to her if that's possible. First, a certificate of appreciation signed by Mayor Maria Marino that is commemorating Issamee's time with the county for her work, for her education, also including some of the comments from some of her employees and how they feel about her and the work that she's done. We put together this great collage of some photos that are, I think, very recognizable to her and to members of the board, both in locations here locally and at the state capitol, and on some of the important projects that she's been involved on, the groundbreaking and volunteering. And then also, we have a gift basket that we've put together that we wanted to present to her as well, with some items from the county that she is going to be able to take along with her. I already cleared it with Broward County. They'll let you take these in to your next job with our symbol as a symbol of appreciation. And we really do appreciate the time, the energy, the effort, and the commitment that you've made to our county. You're a remarkable person, Issamee, and thank you.
So if I may say, I just want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to work for this board, for the county administrator, for Administrator Baker, but most importantly, for the opportunity to work with the staff members. We pushed a lot of work, and it was done with passion. It was done with conviction that we were doing the right thing. I like to joke with my colleagues at Fire Rescue that in 6 years we pushed 7 different fire stations through different stages. So thank you. Appreciate the opportunities. Has been an honor. I'm pretty sure our paths will cross again, and I wish you all the best as time continues.
You can't leave yet. Commissioner Weiss, your light is on.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I just want to thank you, Issamee. What an honor and a pleasure it's been to spend the last few years together with you and to see the efforts that you put into this. It was way beyond the job. It was definitely, you made it much more so. And your impact of what you have done will be felt by this community for decades to come. And just really appreciated, the way you managed, and it was a very good run. And so, as they say, you're always part of the PBC family, and hopefully, you can always come home again.
Thank you. Commissioner Woodward.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Issamee, for the short time that we had to work together. I had a few projects that I have some nightmares about. I'm sure you do too. Hopefully it'll be better for you when you're in Broward not having some of these. But I'm happy that you'll still be in South Florida, so it's not a loss to the region. And I really just appreciate the way you always communicated with me. It was exactly what I needed to hear, even if it's not what I always wanted to hear. But I wanted to thank you for that. And please don't lose my number. I'm going to keep yours. So thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Powell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Issamee, I want to tell you, thank you for your work that you've done while we've been here. There's very few people who I could call and could pull up information as quickly as you can. And I also will tell you, I know as a person, you remain very humble and reserved, but I want to make sure that, you have a powerful story to tell, that you continue to inspire other people and share some of that story, because there's so many people when they hear your story who are inspired and will continue to be inspired. So your story is not just yours, but your story is to also be given away, also while you still maintain your humility, but make sure that, there's young girls and young boys who you can continue to inspire. So thank you for your work. Thank you for your service. And I know our paths will cross again, and I look forward to the day. And thank you.
Vice Mayor Baxter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Isami, we didn't get the best of starts, but I will say you quickly won me over with your dedication, your hard work, answering the phone, answering questions. You made it probably you were someone to work with who made it easier than most. And I will never forget that. And I want to thank you for your hard work, your dedication, and just getting things done for not just the county, but for residents when we'd call you. I don't know when you sleep, but I feel like you've learned to survive on very little sleep. But I just want to say thank you, and I hope you do enjoy the next chapter in your life.
Yes, me. One last word. Thank you very much. Thank you for putting the county above politics. Thank you for putting the county and knowing how much the county means to our taxpayers and our residents, and making sure that how we spent their dollars was the best way to do it, and protecting of that goes a long way. And I just want to say thank you for that. It was very honorable. You can't go. You got to get a picture with your presidents. Yeah, Isami, come on up here.
Put you right over here. Right there next to the mayor.
X marks the spot. Right in the middle.
Very nice. Oh, no.
The ladder?
Scares me. The ladder. Not too bad. You're good.
You obviously haven't been in my office when I'm standing on my desk. But Isami did walk in one time.
No, please. Deniability. Risk management. How we doing? Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations.
I can't see. I have weird contacts in today. It's a constant experiment. And I think today it's failing. All righty, we are on to the workshop portion of our agenda, and I know that there's a lot of folks in the audience that are interested in this. We're not taking comment cards on the workshop because whatever action we take today, which is just direction, will then come back to the board and we'll have an opportunity to have input then. So our first item on the agenda today on the workshop is our EMS ordinance.
Good morning, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the board, Administrator Von Laren. For the record, Stephanie Shanaha, Director of Public Safety. We are here today to provide an overview of our EMS ordinance revision that we've been working on for a few years now. With me today, I have to my left, Rich Ellis. He is our Deputy Director of Emergency Management. To my right, Mary Blakeney. She's the Director of Emergency Management. And then to her right is Chief James Ippolito, Deputy Fire Chief for Palm Beach Gardens Fire Rescue, as well as the Chair of our EMS Advisory Council. So this was directed by the board back in February 11th of this year to come back to this commission and provide an update on where we are today with the ordinance revisions and to gather feedback from each of the commissioners. So just for a little background, we could turn the slide. Oh, I have the slide. So for some background information, Florida statute chapter 401.25 authorizes counties to adopt ordinances that provide standards for issuing certificates of public convenience and necessities, otherwise known as COPCNs, for providing ALS as well as ALS and BLS transportation services. The Palm Beach County Emergency Medical Service Ordinance outlines requirements for COPCNs in accordance with state guidelines. The Palm Beach County EMS Ordinance also provides authority to the county to regulate areas and operations of services provided by COPCN holders. So since the last major EMS ordinance revision, which took place back in 2017, when the Board of County Commissioners adopted the current version of the ordinance, PBC has undergone 3 COPCN application periods, with the most recent at the beginning of this year with the addition of 5 new secondary service provider COPCNs, which make a total of 7 in Palm Beach County. Over the past 8 years, there have been ordinance revisions, but no major ordinance rewrite that has taken place since 2017. And as a result of the need for a rewrite, an EMS Ordinance Revision Committee was formed by the EMS Advisory Council back in 2023. However, the revision process, along with some staff vacancies, was put on hold during 2024 in order to focus on the emergent amendment allowing for a midterm secondary service provider process COPCN application period. The EMS Ordinance Revision Committee then started meeting again in December of 2024, and the meetings are open to the public. This slide shows the proposed timeline for the EMS ordinance revision process. In the last few weeks, we presented a summary of revisions to the board members, the EMS Advisory Council, the Health Emergency Response Coalition, and the fire chiefs. Today, we are here with a similar presentation. There will be a final EMS ordinance revision presentation given to the EMS Council on September 18th, and then on October 22nd, staff will give the same presentation to the League of Cities, and then on November 1st, there will be a first reading of the EMS ordinance, and then on December 2nd, there will be a final adoption of the ordinance. We will now move on to the summary revisions. In the following slides, we will cover general changes and significant changes made within the applicable sections of each of the sections of the ordinance. Under the general changes throughout the entire ordinance, definitions and terminology was added and or updated to align with Florida statutes and to align with current EMS program practices here in Palm Beach County. Under significant changes, we are recommending that the term subscription service program definition be deleted. The definition of subscription service program means a contractual service between a COPCN holder and a community association for transport or various ambulance services for the community. Under the current ordinance, in order to provide services under a subscription service program, the secondary service provider must hold both a COPCN and a certificate of authority issued by the Florida Department of Insurance. A subscription service program is funded by each community association that contracts for the service. The subscription service program dates back to the mid-90s. At some point, American Medical Response, AMR, entered into agreements with a handful of homeowner groups for subscription services. These services would include various medical care, checkup services, and would also include transports of BLS calls to the emergency room. How this works is Palm Beach County Fire Rescue would respond to the 911 call, and after medical assessment, if the patient was BLS, Palm Beach County Fire Rescue would call AMR to provide the transport to the emergency room. This practice has been going on in only 4 communities: Century Village North and South, Kings Point, and Lakes of Delray. Removing this term does not impact AMR or any other secondary provider having agreements with the homeowners associations to provide transports to medical appointments. Also removing this term does not prohibit secondary providers from responding to emergency medical calls upon the request of a primary service provider. If the board wants to grandfather in these communities, with Palm Beach County Fire Rescue handing over the 911 BLS calls to AMR, we could allow language that allows only those HOAs that have current agreements with AMR to continue Palm Beach County Fire Rescue handling the 911 BLS call. Moving on to the COPC and endorsements required section, a general change consisted of language added to clarify that the secondary service provider must contact the primary service provider when requested for medical assistance that warrants transports to an emergency room. An example of this is at special events where the event holder hires a secondary provider to be on site at the event, and a such situation may require transport to an emergency room. We just want to make sure that the primary service provider in that area is contacted. Another general change is that once a COPCN is approved by the Board of County Commissioners, a certificate provided by the COPCN holder will indicate a valid date as well as a start date if the entity does not wish to begin services immediately. And then moving on to for significant changes, the current ordinance does not allow secondary service providers to apply for air ambulance. This change allows secondary service providers to apply for air ambulance service endorsement. However, they may only provide said services when Palm Beach County service providers are not available or determines that another air ambulance is needed, and they may contact somebody outside if there's not a provider located within Palm Beach County, and that outside provider of the county will not be cited.
And you have a question from Vice Mayor Baxter.
Yes.
Good morning, Stephanie. Thank
Good
you for
morning.
this. So we had reviewed this briefly, and I'm just trying to clarify. Have you changed this since we spoke about it?
Yes.
Okay, so if the primary helicopter is not available,
Yes.
and we only have 2 in the county, I understand?
Trauma Hawk, yes.
Trauma Hawks, and 1 is down and no longer working, what currently happens?
So if Trauma Hawk is contacted and they determine that they're not available, they will then let the provider know, or the hospital know, that's typically who calls, and then they will contact a private entity. So our direction, our request of this board is to require any entity that's located in Palm Beach County, which there's none right now, but in the future, say 5 years from now, if there's an entity that wants to provide air ambulance services in Palm Beach County, that they be licensed with us. Right now, what would happen is the hospital would contact an entity that's outside of Palm Beach County, and that happens, and that's okay to happen at this point, because we want to make sure that the patient care, to address your concern, is provided, and we're not worrying about the logistics of the patient being transported.
So currently, there are no air helicopters, let's say, to pick up patients, is what you're saying?
Correct.
In Palm Beach County?
That I'm
So
aware
they
of,
call
correct.
outside of the county?
Correct.
But what you're saying is that if, going forward, somebody exists in Palm Beach County, we're going to require them to go through our application process to be able to transport patients?
Our thought is we provide licensing requirements for ground transport. It should apply to the same as air transport. So if they're licensed and they want to operate in Palm Beach County, they should follow the same rules as all the other transport agencies.
So then what would help us to get them business if they can just still call somebody outside of the county?
The part of the ordinance.
That's what they're doing now. What I'm
Part of
saying
the
is,
ordinance change would be that they contact Trauma Hawk, and if there is a business in Palm Beach County, they'll be required to contact the local business, and then if the local business, under an emergent situation, they can contact outside of the county. They can only contact outside of the county if it's nothing available in Palm Beach County.
and how long have we not required this in Palm Beach County? Have we ever required this?
Right now, private ambulance companies that provide air transport cannot they're not able to transport in Palm Beach County unless it's under the emergent, there's an emergent section of the statute that allows them, it could be under a major catastrophe or an emergency that they are allowed to transport. And so we would classify that under an emergency. But they are currently, private providers are not allowed to apply for a secondary. It's only primary.
So let's say I'm at a hospital. I'm sick. I need to go to another hospital. And you're saying if Trauma Hawk isn't available to transport, that there's no one else in the county that does that?
Not at this time.
And they have to call out of county?
They'll have to call out of county.
And you're saying if anyone comes here and they don't know to go through this process, or they choose not to go through this process, then they're not even an option?
They wouldn't be an option, but if they were called, we would just have a citation process, and we would, notify them that a license is required here in Palm Beach County. We would treat them the same as we do all the other ground transportations.
How many times a year does this happen?
Not often. I mean, we only know of a couple times that it's happened throughout the year. It could happen more. We don't have that data.
And do we really feel this is a necessary regulation?
I feel that if they want to operate in Palm Beach County, being that we're holding the other ground transports responsible and accountable for the times and.
You said there are no
having a
others.
license, this is planning for the future. So this ordinance we're writing, I hope I don't have to come back and rewrite it again in a couple of years. So we're planning for 5, 6, 7 years down the road in the event that a company comes into Palm Beach County.
So we're trying to solve a problem that's not a problem yet?
Well, again, an ordinance is written for long-term. We plan for the future. So, I mean, I'm strategically thinking about what the county may look like in 5 years, and it is a very good possibility that a company will come in Palm Beach County and provide air transport services.
Well, I can tell you, if it was my family member laying in a bed, my child, anyone in my family laying there, and they needed transport, and Traumahawk was not available, I wouldn't want to think, oh, because a private helicopter company fears getting a citation because they haven't gone through our COPCN process, that they won't take my sick child to where he or she needs to go. I don't think that's a great policy, especially if we haven't had any real need for this. I feel like this is, again, just more, do this application. And our application, as we saw from the secondary COPCNs and everything we've gone through, our application process is not simple. So I feel like this is a lot of red tape that could actually cause more harm to families and put them in more danger if they can't get the transportation they need in a timely fashion. And again, I'm not a huge fan of the fact that they're currently calling outside the county. I'd like to incentivize to have some more backup services here in the county, and I don't know that adding this helps that process.
Certainly, that's the direction from the board, and we can modify that in the ordinance if needed.
Thank you.
We have other lights on, so Commissioner Sacks.
Thank you, Mayor, and good to see you, Stephanie.
Thank
and
you.
your
Good to see you
team.
too.
So, this is a workshop. How do we fix it? I know that the healthcare district had a Traumahawk a number of years ago. PBSO also has a Traumahawk. So how do we fix this? This is a workshop. We want to give you direction. This is a wealthy county. We have so many hospitals here. What do we do to, first of all, what happened to the healthcare district's Traumahawk?
So, is that
It's a question.
Okay, so nothing happened to their Traumahawk. They have 2 helicopters. But if one goes down and one is in service or both are in service, the hospital still has the opportunity to contact a private entity that is not located in Palm Beach County because we don't have any, as I mentioned.
That's it, right there. Excuse me.
Yes.
When you said outside of the county, okay? So we only have 2 helicopters that emergency services can use. Only 2? Is that it? I'm asking. I don't know. Just
2 that are licensed through Palm Beach County primary. It's Palm Beach County Fire Rescue that staffs the helicopter, and the Traumahawk is provided by the healthcare district.
I remember reviewing this a number of years ago with the helicopters by the healthcare district. How do we solve this problem without going outside the county?
So right now, there's no private entity that provides that service. I would expect as the, map has changed with secondary providers of adding additional ones, I foresee this changing, down the road in the future, that there's going to be additional providers here in Palm Beach County that want to provide air ambulance services. So we're just preparing for that.
So, okay. So your job is to review our providers and see who can provide a more than 2, which is the healthcare district's Traumahawks. I call them Traumahawks. For use here in Palm Beach. Is that what you're going to do? Or do you need direction from us to do it?
So right now, Traumahawk provides the services that are needed. It's those 1 and 2 instances that may happen. We don't have all the numbers because we're not aware of the times that a hospital may contact. They're not required to report that information to us. We can certainly ask for it moving forward. But our message is today that if a provider wants to come into Palm Beach County and provide air ambulance services, we want to make sure that they're licensed. So there's a process in place that when the hospital calls Traumahawk and Traumahawk is not available, which again is under a limited amount of circumstances.
Absolutely.
But there is the ability for them to contact the local provider, and if the local provider is not available, they can contact a private entity outside of the county. Right now, that is what's happening. But again, it's very minimal, the amount of times that it happens. Again, we don't have that data. We will ask the hospitals for that data, but it's up to them on whether they want to.
The only time that we really need to have a helicopter service is in an extreme emergency.
Extreme emergency.
And I would like to know how many of those emergencies we've had. Our population is growing, it's getting younger, and I would imagine, even if it was older, it doesn't make any difference to me. I think we need to have more than two. And I'd like to see, when you do your inquiry, I'd like to see you look into that and what we can do by getting any other ways to provide that, because it's not enough. And I hate to wait for Martin County or Hendry County or Broward County to get us in an extreme emergency, that helicopter. Okay?
And we'll get that data.
Appreciate
So when
it.
we present this to the board in November under the first reading, we have that.
I wonder if you could provide that to the board before the November. That way we'll have it in our, in our offices. We can review it and be prepared to ask questions. Will you do that, Stephanie?
Yes, I will.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Commissioner Woodward.
Thank you, Mayor. Just so I understand what we're discussing with the air ambulance, right now, if Trauma Hawk's unavailable, then a hospital would contact outside of the county because they know there's not one within the county. Would this change in the ordinance of what you're recommending almost be an invitation to private companies to become licensed with us? So should the need arise, we have availability within the county?
So Mary just whispered into my ear, I want to make sure that it's clear that it's secondary. So it's your inter-facility, and I didn't know if the board understood that. So primary is provided by Palm Beach County Fire Rescue with using Trauma Hawk. So 911 calls, those are provided by our Trauma Hawks. In the event that an inter-facility transport is needed by a hospital, the hospital will still call Trauma Hawk because that's a requirement. And if there is a private entity located in Palm Beach County, we would require them pursuant to this ordinance to be licensed. However, if there is no entity here in Palm Beach County and they're outside of Palm Beach County because it's an emergent need, there's a trauma situation going on, we want to make sure that that patient care is taken care of, and so they are able to call the entity that's located outside of Palm Beach County to provide the transport service.
Okay, so, and that was my third question, was the primary versus secondary part of it. So thank you for clarifying that. But again, to go back to, there are private helicopter companies within the county right now. Have any of them tried to apply? Would we be anticipating that one of them may actually be available to do this service, or are we expecting someone to have to relocate a business here?
I'm not aware of any private air ambulance helicopters located in Palm Beach County.
Okay.
There are helicopters, but not that are providing ALS and BLS services.
And as of right now, our ordinance doesn't allow for a secondary helicopter service. So even those that exist elsewhere in the country wouldn't come here because right now we don't allow it.
Correct. We are opening up the opportunity for them to apply.
Okay. So either way, at this point, if we change the ordinance, it would be kind of putting out notice to companies elsewhere that Palm Beach County will allow this. If one would choose to move here, they could then apply for being a secondary air service.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm assuming the ones that we call outside of the county, are they licensed through their county? Like, does Broward have secondary air service? Or whoever we're calling outside of the county, who are they calling when they call?
I don't know the entity's name, and I am not aware of who requires an air ambulance license, but we will gather that information in addition to what Commissioner Sachs asked for.
Okay. So if this is in anticipation of, letting companies know, like Palm Beach County would be open for a service like this, then I understand why you would do this. And then I'm assuming they would also be available for neighboring counties as well, because it's not all the time. And just to be clear, this type of service, this would be, when you say emergent inter-hospital transfer, this air service could be even, taking like a burn victim to the special hospital in Miami or the special children's hospital. It's that they're in one of our hospitals, but they need to go to super specialized treatment. And that's probably hours of driving in an ambulance versus if we could put them in a helicopter, but it's not, they've somewhat stabilized. And that's why this service would be used instead of Trauma Hawk.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Wise.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think we need to really talk about what the service is that you're talking about, this interfacility transfer. Most of the time, it's not done with helicopters, right? It's done with aircraft. They take them to the airport, they put them on an airplane, they send them up to Mayo Clinic, or they go to Houston, or, that's typically what's happening.
And to transfer out of the county does not require a COPCN. This is interfacility transports within the county.
Correct.
Yeah.
So you means you're going to be flying somebody, and who all can have a helicopter land at their facility?
Delray, St. Mary's, trauma centers, all the
That's
trauma
it.
centers. Delray, St. Mary's, and is there a third? I think there's a third. Palms West.
Okay, so you have three potential facilities that you can transfer by helicopter in between,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
And so if somebody came in, and helicopters cost about how much money now? We had a few $1 million.
Yeah. I mean, an ALS vehicle is $250,000, $300,000.
So,
I
and then you would
imagine
have to equip the helicopter with ALS type equipment. You'd have to have a staff standing by for the call that might come out.
Yeah.
So how often has this happened?
It's limited, and I say limited because I don't have the data, but that's something that we'll gather from the
how much-
hospitals when they do have to call.
So for somebody to have a helicopter sitting around and a pilot and staff on the occasion to be called out with millions of dollars worth of assets sitting there, both human and capital, is that a realistic expectation that somebody's going to do that? To be able to get a reimbursement from Medicare or the insurance company to do that transport? And wouldn't the insurance company want to approve that transport before they allowed it? So I think we're going off in a direction right now that hopefully in the future there's an opportunity if needed, but I think we're spending a lot of time on something that is going to be very rare. And I support having a license. I want to know if somebody's going to operate in this county that they have all the capabilities of an ambulance, if that's what they're presenting themselves as. So I have no problem with what you're recommending.
A quick question for you. Are you modeling this after another county's ordinance?
No. We do have comparisons of other counties for ground transport. We have not looked at air ambulance, but again, we're just broadening the ordinance to allow for a secondary provider to come in to provide these interfacility transports, and we'll have that information along with the other information that was asked.
I think from what I'm hearing here at the board, and the vice mayor has her light on, but I'm going to, it almost sounds like we're trying to solve a problem that isn't out there yet. But I realize that, we only revisit this ordinance every few years. And, it's always a work in progress with the COPCN. If this is limited from one hospital to another hospital, chances are a hospital is going to be getting this. And if I were looking for reimbursements, a license is going to be required. So I think you're going to need to bring us back a little bit more information before this gets included in this, because there's still some questions. Vice Mayor.
No, thank you, Mayor, actually, is what I was going to say. I think, and before we add this, we need more information.
Understood.
Especially how often does this occur? Where is it occurring, starting, ending, before we go making policy decisions that are lasting.
Understood.
Thank you.
Commissioner Powell.
As I wrap my head around this, get my voice right. As I wrap my head around this, got a couple of questions. So these helicopters that would be outfitted with emergency equipment here in Palm Beach County, is this equipment that can be moved in and out? What would these helicopters be doing when they're not doing inter-hospital transfers in Palm Beach County? Do they have a secondary source? Is this something that they would have some kind of secondary source of, or a secondary purpose other than to be a secondary provider of inter-hospital transfers? Would they be like regular helicopters that are normally like transporting people or doing something, and all of a sudden there's a call and they're like, hey, throw our equipment in, now we're gonna convert into the air transport? Or I'm just trying to figure out, how does it make money? And then how much does this cost between hospitals, right? If I had a helicopter, if I wanted to buy one and start doing this type of service, what would be the financial incentive to do that?
So as far as our inspection process goes right now, anybody that is licensed here, so our primary service provider, the holder of the air ambulance is Palm Beach County Fire Rescue. So at all times, that helicopter has to be stocked and equipped with the proper equipment. And then also the staffing as well. They have to be certified. So any company that wishes to operate in Palm Beach County, a private entity, at any time, that helicopter needs to be, ready and available, because that's when they're issued a COPCN, that means they're signing up to provide that service. Now, as far as the other services that entity may provide, they could, again, transport out of the county that doesn't require a COPCN. They could do those types of services. But anything that requires the services here in Palm Beach County, the interfacility transport, they will have to be equipped. I don't know the benefit. Again, we were setting this ordinance up to plan for the future. I don't know if there is a cost benefit for them to provide this service in Palm Beach County. It is my understanding that other counties do have this, but again, we'll have to do that research and come back to the board. I think we've heard loud and clear that there needs to be additional information in order to make this change.
Thank you for that. And my follow-up question was going to be where the idea came from, but you said other counties do it. So I would agree with my colleagues that more information is needed. I just want to find out how lucrative this would be for someone to take their helicopter and equip it with all this emergency medical and have people on standby in Palm Beach County if it's very rare that it happens. So I have a helicopter that I'm going to use once every 2 years if I get called in Palm Beach County and to go through the licensing process. I just want to know what's the incentive. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
You're welcome.
No more lights, so
Moving on.
moving on.
Okay, where were we?
I think we're on
I think we're on slide 8. Okay, thank you. So continuing with COPCN and endorsements required, additional significant changes include allowing a fire department that does not provide primary provider services to apply for a special secondary service provider COPCN to provide ALS non-transport services within the community within their jurisdiction. The fire department will still need to establish an MOU with the primary provider. An example of this is in Palm Beach Shores. Right now, they want to provide non-transport ALS services, but the way our ordinance is written restricts them from doing that. So we're opening up that opportunity. They still have to have, though, an MOU, like I said, with the primary provider. And so in this case, it would be the city of Riviera Beach. Currently, the ordinance doesn't allow them to apply. So this will open up that opportunity. Also, the private entities may continue to apply for a primary service provider COPCN, provided they have the endorsement or approval of the municipality or jurisdiction they seek to serve. So this is a change where they can continue to apply as a private entity for a primary service. However, they need to just get the approval from the municipality they'll be providing that service in. Moving on. A general change made to the exclusion sections of the ordinance was the inclusion of volunteer ambulance exemptions pursuant to Florida Statute Section 401.25. Volunteer ambulances that are faith-based, not-for-profit charitable corporations registered under Chapter 617 which has been responding to medical emergencies in this state for at least 10 consecutive years, are exempt from needing a COPCN in Palm Beach County. So we just wanted to make sure that the ordinance was updated to reflect the Florida statute. For applications for a COPCN, all application requirements were now added to the ordinance. If you recall, I had like about 21 or 22 pieces of information that we required in the application, but I could not deny an applicant if one of those pieces of information was not included in the ordinance. So we just added all of those. And also, we modified the requirement to provide proof of satisfactory completion of all vehicle and staff inspections from 6 years to 3 years. We felt 6 years was a little excessive. Continuing with the application requirements for a COPCN, clarification language was added to require the application or the applicant to provide the specific proposed service area to be covered under their COPCN. Also, additional time was given to the public notice timeframe for the COPCN application period. Along with this, the timeframe for accepting applications and any other related timelines will be established by the administrator. This is to allow additional time for the applicants prior to the expiration date of their COPCNs. And then lastly, any existing primary service provider in good standing with the county will be able to reapply using an abbreviated COPCN recertification. The abbreviated version includes the following information required: insurance, financial statements, litigation, and fees. And if there are any changes to their service that does not include an annex, they will have to reapply. And we've been doing this over the last 20, 25 years with the primaries, so it's the same information that we're asking for, and I feel like it's just a redundancy, an unnecessary burden on reviewing the application. For Section 1324, which is board approval required for a COPCN, the significant change was clarifying that the board may grant or modify a COPCN at any time to facilitate the pilot program services, which you all just approved a few over the last couple of years. Moving on to rights and duties, currently primary service providers are obligated to respond to another COPCN holder's area when the COPCN holder for that area is unable to respond unless it will remove coverage from its assigned area. Clarification language was added and changed that only the contiguous primary COPCN holder is required to respond to the unassigned areas within reason, so the closest, and they can't hop jurisdictions. Moving on to vehicle permits, there was a general change where inspections can be conducted randomly and or routinely, which is in line with how the state conducts their inspections. For a general change was made to the patient outcome data, which was to describe the purpose for collecting outcome patient data, which is for quality assurance and management improvement activities to better reflect the utilization of information. Response times. So major changes to response times for secondary service providers, and then we also had air ambulance, which is not under the secondary, it's more for both primary. But and focusing on, it's broken down into 3 categories. So you have alert or emergent, urgent, and then routine scheduled. So for all calls that are alerts or of emergent nature, so those are the first 3 rows that you're looking at in the slide, the response time was changed from an average of 10 minutes to now 15 minutes and must be maintained 90% of the calls each month versus an average of 10 minutes for each month. Also, the patient must be ready for transport immediately upon arriving unit, not 30 minutes. Our thought is if it's alert and it's emergent, they need to be ready right away, not wait 30 minutes. Moving on to the next type of call, which is urgent, which is your next 3 rows. For all calls that are urgent, the response time was changed from 30 minutes of the agreed upon scheduled time to within 30 minutes of the transport request. This was an ask by the board back in February, I think maybe last year, actually, when we did an update to the board on the agreed upon time is not fair to the hospitals asking for the transport. So we made that adjustment. For the next call type, routine scheduled, the only change was the patient must be ready within 30 minutes of the scheduled time, not when the unit arrives. And then lastly, for air transports, response times were removed for safety reasons. The revised language states that the time should be consistent with industry practices and safety standards. According to the Commission on Accreditation of Medical Transport Systems, they do not set any standards for liftoff times, and that these standards should be set by the agency and can be affected by many factors. I also forgot to mention on the urgent calls that I think the patient must be ready within 15 minutes and not 30 minutes, so I forgot to highlight that.
So before you go on, thank you.
Okay,
I
yes.
think maybe my very passionate plea last year, actually a year ago, about what happened with my dad, and the time frame in which it was taken care of. Really, it was more the nurse that really said to me, you know, when we call for transport, oftentimes the companies will say, well, we can't be there for 2 hours. So then the time is 2 hours plus whatever. And this clarifies that, so I greatly appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so moving on to the next slide. We're still working on general changes to the enforcement section of the ordinance. However, one significant change under the enforcement section was that a remedial action plan may be required when average response time requires are not met over a minimum period time of 1 month versus 3 months. So we changed it to 1 month. We thought 3 months. It should be, we already review the response time data every month, and so if they're not complying that month, they need to have a remedial action plan in right away and not having us wait for 3 months. So it's just putting further restrictions on the COPCN holders. And then this last slide is really just a recap of only the significant changes that I just went over. We thought it would be helpful for the board to see and open it up for discussion. I know that we've already had some discussion on some of the items. And then this next slide, and we can flip back and forth between the two, but these are other items for BCC consideration that are not part of the proposed revisions to the current EMS ordinance because they've already been in place, and we just wanted to double check to make sure that you still want them to be in place or to put further restrictions on them. One is the automatic vehicle locator requirement. We ask for if they have one, we don't require it. So does the board want to make that a requirement? The second is experience for secondary service providers. Right now, there is no experience required for companies. There is experience required for staff. So is that a change that we want to make moving forward? And then the midterm application process, we did add that last October. That's when we went to the board back in February to add the additional companies. Do you want to continue to keep that midterm process in place? Again, that would be directed by the board. It's not an automatic process like our 6-year process. And then this last change is new from what I presented to you all over the last couple of months, but interfacility transports, right now, and again, we're allowing privates to apply for primaries. But for interfacility transports, we say in the ordinance, and this was something that was put in a long time ago, that governmental entities are not allowed to provide interfacility transports. So our position is if we're allowing privates to apply for primary, we should open it up and allow for governments to provide interfacility transports.
Can you
So
give us
those
an
are two
example of that? When you
so-
say government's providing interfacility transport?
So right now, as a primary, your Palm Beach County Fire Rescue or your municipal EMS agencies would maybe start a service of providing interfacility transports from one hospital to another. It could be for their jurisdiction, say for the city wants to start that service, very similar to what the secondary service providers provide now.
Thank you. I actually have a couple lights on, so Vice Mayor Baxter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Would our primary COPCNs then be competing with the private sector
Yes.
on the secondaries?
Yes.
I'm going to hear what my colleagues have to say before I comment further.
But if I may add, for the primaries, they're competing with the primaries as well. So that right now, there's no private entity that has ever applied for a primary. Right now, the ordinance allows them to. So the board could say that we restrict that to governmental entities. And then we could keep it clean where primaries are only government, secondaries are privates, special secondaries are privates. Right now, it's open for both.
Madam Mayor, I'm going to continue.
Go right ahead.
If you don't- I necessarily don't like, I like that we have our primary guys as our primary guys. I don't think anyone can really do it better, but also we've just now expanded our secondary COPCN to a lot of entities that are out there, and they have spent a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of energy to get this. I'm not in for changing it. We've had a system. I like change generally, but not in this. This is one of those, I like knowing that who my primary in Palm Beach County, but I also like competition. That's just, it makes everything better. And the way it is now seems to work fairly well. I'm not in favor of changing that, but I will go down this list since I have you. And I did have another. So you're wanting us or asking if the automatic vehicle locators, I do like the idea of requiring that for slide 19. And number 2, the experience requirement, I do want experience, but my question is then how do people break it? How do people start into it?
So if you require experience for the company, a lot of times companies are bought out by others where there's new staff that have experience. But if you require experience and the company has none and they want to start, is this the county that you want them to start in?
I'm saying if we have several providers that are filling in if they can't make it there on time. Again, you want experience, but not anyone wanting to start a business can go buy another business out. I mean, we're talking millions of dollars. So I'm always conscious of course you want experience. It's the same thing when you go get a job. Oh, we want experience, but how do you get experience if you can't get the job,
Understood.
right? It's the same thing in so many things. How do you build credit unless they give you a credit card, and you can't get a credit card unless you have credit? It's a horrible circle kind of thing. So to this, I don't want to, we need to find a better way of maybe mixing the two so that, no, we're not providing somebody with inexperience to provide services to our residents, but at the same time, come up with a way to allow them to maybe complement someone else or something that doesn't prevent new small businesses.
Okay.
And that's my thought on that. In the midterm application, I have no problem if you want to retain a midterm application. I don't feel really strongly one way or the other. And I want to leave the interfacility transports the way it currently is.
So that means governmental entities cannot provide interfacility? That's the way it's
Correct.
currently written, okay.
Commissioner Sacks and then Commissioner Weiss.
Thank you, your team, Stephanie, for this very good presentation. First, I want to thank you for grandfathering in Century Village and the retirement center at Kings Point as well, both Century Villages. Appreciate that. Let's go to what you're asking us in this workshop, and it's a workshop, so it's good for discussion. The automatic vehicle locator, I can't imagine why we would not have that. And I believe when we heard from all the different entities that wanted to contract with us, they each had it. So, I mean, I can't imagine that we would not have it. Secondly, and I'm open to discussion from my colleagues, the experience requirement for secondary providers. I recall there was a provider that came before us that had tremendous experience in other counties in Florida. So I don't have any objection to looking at them seriously if they never had experience in Palm Beach, if they have proven experience in other counties in Florida. So, and I remember a couple of them. I'd like to keep this as open and competitive and you know, as possible for us. So I think that's something that could be considered. If they have no experience at all, I don't know if I want them to get their experience here with us. I think it would take a really deep dive into their qualifications and capabilities in that regard. And the midterm application process, my suggestion is absolutely, let's keep it as often as possible. And the interfacility transport, does that, when you say government provider, you're talking about our EMS officers?
So your Palm Beach County Fire Rescue and any other municipal government entity that's providing EMS service now. They have a primary COPCN.
I don't see why we would not use them. Okay? It's government, people pay for it already. And I think it's certainly should be considered. Certainly should be considered in the discussion that, that we will have further on this. And I open it up to my colleagues, but I don't see why we would not use our firefighters as part of that process. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you.
Commissioner Weiss.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the presentation. Going back to the subscription service that you started with, so just to understand, there's nothing, so if we were to eliminate the subscription service, if somebody wanted to have a contract with a secondary COPCN provider for not, or anybody really for that matter, for non-emergent needs, would this ordinance prohibit them from contracting if somebody needed to go to the doctor or needed, to be picked up from the doctor and brought home? Would that prohibit them from doing that?
As long as they're not going to an emergency room, they're able to provide that service.
So as long as they're not being transported to an emergency room, then those people that have contracts could continue to have those contracts, but they would be the ones making the phone call to their provider as opposed to having our fire rescue folks making that phone call.
Correct. Anytime the 911 is dialed, that then prompts the primary to respond.
Okay.
So as long as 911 is not dialed, and it shouldn't be dialed if they're just going to a doctor's appointment, but the COPCN, the provider has to have a COPCN to provide that service.
So they would have to have a
Yes.
Okay. So they could then, because right now what's happening is a 911 call goes out, we're dispatching out our fire rescue people, and then once they're on scene, and then they're making a determination that this is not an absolute emergency and they don't need to take them right then and there, then they make a phone call and then they wait. And how long do they wait for?
I cannot answer that. I believe there is wait time. I know that our either chief of fire rescue or one of his other chiefs are here that may, if you would like to have him come up.
I'd actually like to see the actual data.
Okay.
So I don't need if we
don't track that data. We track the 911 call.
We don't track that data?
We track the 911 call and the response to the patient. But when the patient goes, because that's the requirement as a primary COPCN holder, is for them to give us those run times from when the call is made to when they respond to the scene. So that's the 8 minutes. But them going from the scene, because again, they could be at the scene for 30, 40 minutes, depending on the situation. When they go from the scene to the emergency room, that is not tracked. If that's a handoff to AMR, I believe fire rescue would have that data.
Okay, so what I'd want to know is how long are they sitting there? I mean, it seems like they would be able to get them, transport them right then and there and just be over and done with and be freed up to take the next call as opposed to just sitting and waiting. So I'm not certain. I think there's a better solution for this than the way it's currently being done. As it relates to your questions in looking for guidance on the automatic vehicle locator, I think, yeah, absolutely a requirement. Experience for requirements for secondary providers, yes, they should have some type of minimum level of experience. I mean, I would not want to go to a doctor who has had no experience, and so I would not want to have somebody be responsible who's never had experience in this business, be responsible for one of the lives of my loved ones without any kind of experience. Midterm application process, I think flexibility is a good thing. We just never know what's going to happen. And on the interfacility transports, I have no issue with allowing that. I think I look at it from home rule perspective. If city has the ability and the capabilities of doing that, I don't want to prohibit them from being able to participate if that's what that city or those people who live in that city have put together. So, yeah, so I'm okay with that. And then I think lastly, we go back to that issue of the air ambulance, interfacility transport. You know, I think that, again, I don't disagree with my colleagues that more data is appropriate, but I think it's something you all are trying to prepare for, and maybe, you know, as we're looking at these, the potential proliferation of eVTOLs, that might change that. In fact, you may not have any pilot, might be all just drone operated, moving people around. So, you know, maybe start thinking about how that might impact how the system works.
We've talked about that.
Yeah, might be time.
Thank you. Commissioner Woodward.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll start with this slide that you're on. I agree with the automatic vehicle locators. We should make that a requirement. And also on the experience, yes, we need experience. This is not a county to start in, so I would agree with that. The midterm application process, I agree, yes. However, do we have the ability to, if when we do this again the next time, we'll have a certain number of providers. If there's mergers or buyouts or companies that go away, could we put something where we maintain a minimum number of providers, whatever that number is that we put, say if we do 4, or just to throw that out there, and there's a merger, which would, with 2 of those, which would take us down, or, you know, a company goes away, would that open it up earlier instead of waiting to the 3-year mark? Could we have like a safety threshold just for, you know, if we lose providers in the meantime?
So right now, the process is every 6 years. Opening it up again mid-year, that would mean I would need to present something to the board 6 months before that 3-year mark. So you're already at 2.5 years. So opening it up any earlier. However, if there is, if I identify a public safety need and there's an emergency where there's not enough support, and I know my attorney is gonna probably have some heartburn over this, but there is language in the ordinance that is under exigent circumstances where the service is not being provided that we could, you know, the board has that ability, but I think we have to identify the public safety need in order to open up an application outside of the period.
I think that's correct, but I think you can also build a little bit more flexibility into that midterm process, that if there's other circumstances.
And I think we have the flexibility in the midterm process, but I'll reread what we have.
I think it says like sometime after the midpoint or something like that, so we can make that a little bit more flexible.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd like
At
to.
any time during that period, maybe.
Yeah, I'd like to add that in there, just
Okay.
in case we were to find ourselves where we were, again, you know, hopefully that doesn't happen, but just in case, we don't have to have a meeting to discuss the validity of it. If, you know, if we're getting the feedback, we need another provider, or a provider, even if they still exist, maybe they have 1 truck or something. There's things that could happen. I think to build the flexibility into that and put it into the ordinance so that it's clear in the future were this to happen again. And the inter-facility transports from government entities, I feel like I don't know enough on that to make a determination. Because would this be government entities that are the primary COPCN? So we're talking 911 versus transport.
So 911 is your primary. So if a municipality or Palm Beach County Fire Rescue wanted to provide interfacility transports, that is a new model to Palm Beach County. We have, at least in my time that I've been licensing, and so they would have to apply for a secondary provider, or we could endorse them under their primary that they would also be providing secondary interfacility transports. It's not a model that happens now. It's done, In the event that, let's just go back to the old model prior to February 11th, the current provider wasn't available in the time that the hospital needed to transport. They might have called 911. The primary provider responds to the hospital, and they then determine that this isn't a 911 call. Well, they're still going to transport it. And so that is allowed under the ordinance only if they realize that when they get there, because they were already called and they have to have that continuum of care. But they cannot respond to a call unless 911 call is made.
So would the change that you're proposing then be, or are you not proposing, but it would be limited? I mean, maybe there's some municipalities out there that their fire rescue isn't necessarily utilized as much as it could, and this would be a benefit for them? Is this the
So
ask?
we're not recommending a change right now. Currently, the way the ordinance is written is governmental entities cannot apply for, cannot conduct inter-facility transports. So our
Unless they've been
question
called
is,
as
do we want to
911?
open that up?
But they do if they've been called as 911.
And as 911, but right now they cannot, if a hospital was to contact them directly, they can't transport. They would say, call your secondary provider.
Okay. I feel like I might need more information before deciding on that one.
Understood.
And then to go back on page 18, yes, I agree with the subscription service and to grandfather those communities in.
Okay.
I think we let them keep doing what they're doing. The municipal fire departments that are not primary service providers, do we have municipal fire departments that are not the 911 call for their area?
Yes,
Okay.
Palm Beach Shores.
Is that the only one?
That's the only one as of right now.
Okay. So I guess, and I think later there's that question. I think maybe on that one, I need more information on what that would entail, because even though if they're a government entity, but they're not the primary, because that's my concern, is the 911, dispatchers, they have trucks that are assigned, and if we're using those trucks to do transports, what does that do to the overall system?
This is non-transport. So a community member I'm going to use Palm Beach Shores as an example, calls 911, which would go to the city of Riviera Beach. City of Riviera Beach would then let Palm Beach Shores know that we're responding to a call, but Palm Beach Shores is right there, so within 3 minutes, they can get to that resident, perform non-ALS transport services to that resident before the city of Riviera Beach gets there.
But they can't transport.
But they can't transport, and they don't want to transport. The request and why we're modifying this is that they just want to provide the service, the ALS services, until the city of Riviera Beach gets there. This is the one community that has come forward to us requesting this change.
Okay.
Right now, the way the ordinance is written, it does not allow them. They can be considered a special secondary service provider. I know you've approved a few on this board over the last year. Delaire Country Club was one of them. I know there's several in Mayor Marina's district.
Okay, well, I don't see a problem with that. That's a reasonable request.
Okay.
And then as far as, let's see, the requiring to respond to contiguous, are there like mutual aid, automatic aid agreements that exist between what this would entail?
This is outside of those. If there's a mutual aid or an automatic aid, those would kick into play first. Okay. This is if they've exhausted those or not used those or don't have those. We want to make sure that they call the closest. Okay. And the way the ordinance is written now is any primary has to respond. We were just saying that now we're kind of restricting it a little, saying it needs to be contiguous. So there's not an abuse of the system.
Okay. All right, that makes sense. And then I guess the number 7 with the timing, is that in regards to what the mayor was mentioning with the requested time versus the agreed upon time?
Yes.
Okay, definitely support that.
And there was other changes in accordance with some of the recommendations that we've received, not only from this board, but from hospitals. So
Okay.
those were outlined.
And then with the enforcement, taking it down to 1 month versus 3, that definitely do that.
And we'll have other recommended changes to our enforcement section. We've got other ordinances that we cite on, and so we've kind of talked about mimicking those, but that's a work in progress.
Commissioner Powell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In terms of automatic vehicle locators, I think that's a necessary requirement unless it's some extraordinary cost. But I think with technology, especially technology going the way that it's going, I don't see that being a big issue. So I think that's an absolute, that should be a requirement. The experience requirement for secondary providers. My question is, you indicate that management and upper level supervisors are required to have experience. So this goes into, if I'm a new company, but I used to be a part of AB company, now I've created CB company, and AB company has operated for 10 years, but now CB is a brand new company, and I'm upper management, I'm one of the principals. Does that mean that I'm looked at as a brand new company, or is my experience as a supervisor and manager accounted for in this new company?
It's the company right now. We don't have a requirement for any experience for a company. We require experience for staff. I think it's a supervisor has to have at least 1 year experience. So right now, the way the ordinance is written is it doesn't require experience. We do require 3 years of audited financial statements for secondary providers, and then, of course, the comprehensive annual financial reports for the primaries, which are governmental entities right now. But again, moving forward, if we change the landscape and allowing secondaries to apply for primaries, your private entities, do you want them to have experience? So at this point, there's no experience required.
Okay, I think we should take into account that when you talk about managers and supervisors, so some of these companies, some of the companies may be new, but they may not be operating as if they are brand new because of the history of the management or the partnership team that owns them. So that's something that we want to keep in mind. In terms of midterm application process, I heard some conversation about this. Is this something that we as a board, if we see that we stick to the normal time frame, but again, we see that it's not working, we could then request to do a midterm application process, or is this something that we need to put in an ordinance now?
It's an option. And staff would make a recommendation based on the current situation of the secondary providers.
Okay, I think,
Can I clarify, though? It needs to be in the ordinance in order to open up that process.
Yeah.
By having it in the ordinance, it gives you the option to open it.
okay, thank you.
That's currently in the ordinance.
Then I think we should keep it there. As it relates to interfacility transfers, I would really like to hear from some of the governmental entities that would take this into account. And my question involves this idea that when we start talking about governmental transfers, interfacility government transfers, does that take away from their primary responsibility, right? And then how are they competing in terms of for compensation? Our primary transport services would, I believe, receive money based on whatever they're taxed at, and how would that work? Would they now, if they are allowed to do interfacility transfers, would this now mean that they would be competing with those secondary providers who are, receiving funds from whether it be insurance or however they're paid? Does that throw this whole option off in terms of the logistics and how it works in terms of monetary compensation, the competition, the advantages of being the government, because you have the advantage of, receiving the first call because of 911. Just, it leaves a lot for me to have a better understanding of before I could really make an educated opinion on this particular issue?
So we happen to have, and I don't want to put him on the spot, but the deputy chief of the City of Palm Beach Gardens Fire Rescue. And if I may ask him to elaborate a little? And this is on the question of the interfacility transports and governmental entities not being able.
Good use case here. Can you hear me now? There we go. A good use case here is, this happened quite a bit when I was on the truck, and it happens today, where we could be completing a transport at a facility, and they can have an emergent transport, like somebody's having urgent stroke that needs to go to a stroke center, or trauma that needs to go to a trauma center, and that patient's ready to go. The way the ordinance is written today, if they look at us and say, hey, this patient's got to go right now, we don't want to call for a secondary to wait for that transport time, can you take them now? We technically can't take that unless the call comes from a 911. It's a 911 call as an emergency. So the loophole there is a 911, so then we'd have to say, okay, we'll call 911 and go through that whole process while we're waiting, and that's probably, in my mind, not the best for the patient. We want to be able to take them and get them to their destination. So it's just, go ahead.
You just indicated in the case where they're actively having a stroke.
Correct.
They would have to then call 911 before you could transport them if you're already dropping somebody off and they're going, hey, this guy's having a stroke, and you have to say, hey, call 911.
Excuse me, it'd be a different patient, excuse me, I try to clarify that. So we've completed one transport. Patient A has been transferred to the hospital. We've completed that call. We're now getting the truck back together, ready to go back into service. The emergency room doctor could say to us, hey, we have another patient, needs an emergent transfer right now, as essentially a new patient, a new call for us. In order for us to legally take that, I would have to go through the 911 system. And that kind of, in my mind, defeats the purpose of what they're trying to do there. So it gives us that opportunity to be able to do what's right for the patient and what's right for patient care and get that patient to their facility. I don't see this being done on a routine basis. To everybody's point, I don't think it financially makes sense for fire departments to get in that business, but it gives us the opportunity, when it's necessary and it's in the best need of the patient, to deliver that service.
Thank you, Chief. So therefore, it could be drafted in a manner that is narrow in scope that would indicate such circumstances as what you've indicated, because, I mean, obviously, if they're at emergency room and they're in the middle of a stroke, I don't think it makes a lot of sense to say, hey, call 911, he's having a stroke, and I can't touch him until, it leaves a lot to be desired, so, thank you.
Any other questions, Commissioner Powell?
That's it.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go down the list myself, and I'm going to say yes to automatic vehicle locators. I'd also, and it's not in here, and I don't know if it's a requirement, hands-free mapping in each of the vehicles. Do they have hands-free mapping in every vehicle? And is that checked? And that is a prerequisite as far as I'm concerned, because you don't need to have an ambulance driver holding a phone, which is what they did in my dad's case. So that needs to be a requirement.
Okay.
Experience requirement for secondary providers. If there is no experience required, then how do you do a 3-year financial audit? So it's either one or the other. I think what the way the ordinance reads, where you have staffing that's experienced, say the staff wants to start a new company, I don't see a problem with that, but there has to be experience, because you can't, and the whole three years of audited financial statements you can't do if it's a brand new company. So I'm not really sure how you have one and not the other.
So if I may, initially we had added 3 years in because we wanted to match the requirement of the audited financial statements, but then we took it out, and that's why we wanted to discuss it to see where this board's direction is on whether they want to allow new companies in without any experience or they want a minimum level. So whatever we end up deciding, whether it's no experience or 3 years experience, the audited financial statements would match that.
The no experience of anybody for a new company is a no. It's a hard no for me. If you've got several folks that have had years of experience and they want to start their own company, that's great. I mean, that's really how business gets started. But I don't want us to be a proving ground here. I'm not going to a surgeon if it's the first time he's ever going to cut somebody open. So, but then again, how do you get experience?
Yeah.
you have to work for somebody. So that would be, for me, that would be you have to have some form of experience. Midterm application process, I'm kind of squishy on that. It seems like if we keep revisiting this every 3 years, that's a ton of work for you all. And we already have how many providers?
7.
So 7 providers. Do we need more? Do we need less? We'll find out. Actually, I think we should allow this period to really be a proving ground for us going forward. Interfacility transports, I would see that only on an emergent basis. I don't see that as a broad basis. I don't want to be taking our, fire rescue out of service to do a minimal call. I don't think that's fair. So, but if there is an example like Chief Ippolito just said, I can see that as being a reason why we would. This to me almost seems like we're trying to solve a problem that isn't there, but in the I don't know how many instances it might have been where a 911 vehicle is there already. It needs to be more specific, so you need to pare that down. As for the subscription service, I think you've heard the board and their comments on that. Air ambulance, I think that's another one of these where we're looking to solve a problem that isn't a problem. If we wait 6 years to figure this one out, I think we'll be fine with that. I do have some questions, though, just general questions that, as we sit here today, has this gone, these changes, who has been able to voice an opinion on the suggestions made here today?
So our EMS Advisory Council Ordinance Revision Committee, which consists of Chief Ippolito. We also have his deputy, what's Corey's assistant chief is also, we also have Palm Beach County Fire Rescue, and then another city of Highland Beach. And in addition to that, it's open to the public. So prior to the February 11th meeting of you approving the additional 5 providers, AMR and medics have been a part of that conversation. In addition to that, we've also updated the EMS Advisory Council, which is that 21-member board appointed by the Board of County Commissioners, who's also had the ability to provide feedback.
And what about our providers?
Yes,
Have
our
they been part of the
providers, yes,
process?
open to the public. Yes, I'm sorry, I should have clarified. The providers have been a part of every meeting. Actually, all the providers have.
Okay. We have one hospital as a provider.
Yes.
Have they been contacting other secondary providers?
Right now, I'm going to turn this to Rich because he is part of their licensing and.
Yep, you're talking about HCA Palms West. They're not up and running yet, but they have their plan in place. And at the last meeting, I think they said somewhere around 30 to 60 days.
I'm sorry, did you just say they're not up and running yet?
That's correct. They had to get their vehicles wrapped, getting equipment for it.
Didn't they stand here and tell us they were ready to go?
Actually, in their application, they had a start date that was actually later than the other providers that came before the BCC in terms of readiness. I don't know
Their
if you have the
start date
actual.
was July 1st.
Yeah.
Their start date was July 1st, so the beginning of this month? Okay, all right.
But your question was, have they contacted any of the other providers to, I think they currently have a contract. Again, that's proprietary information. We're limited on what, who's contracting with who. I believe that they already had a contract with AMR and medics. I assume that's still in place.
Okay.
I don't know if there's any additional providers that they've added.
Okay. That's all my questions. Commissioner Baxter and then Commissioner Woodward. Excuse me, Vice Mayor Baxter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Chief Kennedy, would you mind answering a few questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning.
Good morning.
A few questions for you. The last question on our item here is for the interfacility transports. Is this something that Palm Beach County Fire Rescue wants?
So as sitting there, I would probably have some of the same questions that have already been questioned here from the dais. So I think it's been discussed different ways. in the manner of Chief Ippolito's example, I think it would be pretty simple for us to just call 911, process it that way, and transport that patient as it stands right now.
And wasn't in that scenario the patient already at a hospital?
That's correct. And I think that's the example given. I think there would be a lot of questions I would have for us to do that. And keep in mind, Palm Beach County doesn't have all the hospitals in their jurisdiction as well. So it would affect everybody differently.
Gotcha. And again, I don't see that we've had a problem, so I don't see this as a solution to anything. But thank you, Chief. I appreciate it. So to summarize, or would you like to, Mayor?
Oh, actually, Commissioner Woodward, you had, your light is on also. Okay, so go ahead.
Thank you. Just something that the mayor brought up got me curious. There's a committee and a council that's advising this ordinance. And who did you say is on the committee?
So
5 members?
So the EMS Advisory Council is an appointed council by this board. That's 21 members. And it was suggested that we have a working group that can meet more often. And we've been meeting almost weekly. Again, trying to combine everybody's schedules is a little challenging. And so that committee was formed, and that is the Palm Beach Gardens Fire Rescue, Palm Beach County Fire Rescue, and the City of Highland Beach. And then it's open to the public. And we have solicited feedback from the public during those meetings.
And how was that committee or council chosen?
By the EMS Advisory Council.
The EMS
It was we call it a working group, but we have to open it to the public.
I guess my concern is because this is about, primary and secondary COPCNs, and is there a representative from any of the providers that are actually secondary
So
providers?
when we initially formed this committee, there was only one provider in Palm Beach County, secondary. It was AMR, so it could have been a conflict of interest. Now there's multiple, but they have been at the table as part of the conversation. I mean, there's not really votes. There's conversations that go back and forth. And some of these changes that you see in here are kind of open for discussion because we've taken into consideration the privates.
Okay, I'm just.
One example is, like, for example, the interfacility transports. Do we want to keep that just to government? Do we want to keep and that's one of the questions I do have. I'll wait, but I do have I need a clarification on how we want to move forward with the primaries, on whether we continue to allow privates to apply. Okay. So those are things we've taken into consideration as a result of the feedback that we've received from the private community.
Okay, I'm just concerned that there's several specific seats that all belong to primary providers, and we don't have, and if there's discussion, as long as there's room for true discussion where they actually do have a seat at the table, that's my concern, because I don't want this to come to us, a year from now where we weren't consulted, we didn't have a voice, we didn't have input in this. I want to make sure that the providers, any of them, all of them, because they're providing one part of it. And are there any is there any input coming from the hospital systems or where these transports are happening to and from? Are they coming to these meetings?
We have met with the Healthcare Emergency Response Coalition. Mary did a presentation there a couple months ago on all these changes. We also, go ahead, Mary. She's pointing me to.
I'm sorry, we've also had another subcommittee that formed off of the ordinance committee that really dove into just response times, and that had hospitals on that as well.
Okay.
So we really tried to break it down into different topics and bring in the right voices into the room.
Okay, well, that'll be helpful whenever, this comes back to us. Just let us know really who all had input and in what way, so that we see that the facilities, the providers, the primary, all of, we need a well-rounded approach. So if you could just include that in the next report of this, please.
Will do.
Commissioner Sachs, your light is on.
Thank you for the presentation. And as I explained before, I wonder if you could get us as much information as possible before the November hearing.
Will do.
That way we'll be prepared. And I encourage anyone who has an interest in this to do so as well. Thank you again. It was very comprehensive.
Thank you.
All right, I think everyone's had a lot of questions for you, and Vice Mayor, I think you wanted, did you want to wrap it up?
I have been keeping track.
So have I, go ahead. Let's see
Okay.
if we got it together.
So I think we all agree we like the AVL.
Yes.
That's great. And Mayor Marino added, and I liked the idea of the mapping,
Hands-free.
the hands-free mapping as requirements. The yes to experience, but if I'm summarizing, it is on the people, not necessarily the company. So we
Correct.
want to make sure that if it is a new company, that the people who work there have experience in the field. Okay.
And the jump off with that would be the auditing, the audited financials. How does that play into the discussion?
We're going to have to work on some language because if they're a new company, they're not going to have audited financial statements. Do you want to require 1 year? They're just not going to have them. So I think some of the conversations that I've presented to this, or some of the information that I presented to this board in the past is that we want to make sure that they're financially sound and that they're not going to go belly up after, 6 months of being in service. So it's,
Which sort of makes the conclusion that they have to have experience so that they won't go belly up and then not cost us, but be a hindrance. So and we can't say to one, you don't need audited financial statements, and then say to another, you need 3 years.
No.
That's not fair
We
either.
could do a process, because now we have more than one. We're not just going to have one secondary COPCN and just talking, it's a workshop, so discussing this. So, I would say if you've proven the 3-year financial audit, then you don't have to prove the 3-year personal experience or vice versa. But if they go belly up and we have 5 secondary COPCNs, we're not leaving people at risk. And Commissioner Woodward made a good point. We could then open it up to fill that spot again if they did. But, that is one option.
Obviously, this one's a little squishy. So you're going to
Has
have
to come back with more
You're going to have to
information.
come up with
Some
more
ideas.
information.
I will.
Yeah, some ideas, and then maybe some examples from other counties of what they're doing with this.
Everyone said yes to, or that it really wasn't that midterm application process, if that's what you would like. And we had only one strong yes today on the interfacility, but resounding, everyone said no or more information. So, again, I like it the way it is. So, and I think most people up here did as well, except for one. So I think the direction would be no, let's keep it
governmental.
Keep it governmental.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Not
governmental.
Right, yeah,
I
I
meant
know
that.
what you meant.
Keep it the way it is.
Keep it
Again, it sounds like we're just trying to find a solution to a problem we don't have.
Okay, is there any outstanding questions?
I do, if I may. So if you go to slide 8, Lee, could you flip to slide 8 really quick? And the only reason I'm going to the slide just because it provides a little more detail. So under the second bullet, private entities, so right now, private entities can apply for a primary COPCN. And what we put in the ordinance was that if they were to, again, this has never happened, but again, planning for, say, in a few years, because we go to the board in 2028, the primary COPCNs expire. But if they were to apply, the municipality or jurisdiction must have an agreement with the private entity to provide the EMS service. So basically, we're telling, the privates they can continue to apply, but we want to make sure that the city is on board. Our position was at least my office, we shouldn't be dictating and telling what a city that they can and can't do. And so with that added language, we feel that it provides a little bit of protection for the city, that they have to, at least the private has to go to them and get approval or be endorsed. And that model does happen in other jurisdictions. The committee was against this, and I wanted to make that clear today. I didn't mention earlier in my comments. So again, it's right now they're able to apply, but we wanted to know the direction of the board. Do we want to restrict that for primary providers just to be governmental entities? Because that's what it is now.
What were the reasons that the committee did not support this?
I think accountability and making sure that, the service provided to their residents is by government. Right now we have obviously 20-plus years that this has been in service, and we haven't had an issue. Again, you know, if it's not broke, don't fix it type thing. So, and again, you know, incorporating other entities, it is logistically gonna, you know, present, you know, some challenges because, as I mentioned earlier, other jurisdictions call upon other jurisdictions, and I think that relationship with the government is easy. Adding in privates could be difficult. Again, I'm speaking on both sides, trying to see, you know, the governmental side as well as the private side.
But have you actually seen, again, this sounds like we're trying to solve a problem that's not there.
Correct.
And we have a couple examples of that, so it's almost like we're going outside the scope of what we really need, and we're making this more difficult, and we're now 2 hours into this conversation with things that we really shouldn't have even seen today.
And I think a part of this process was to make sure that you knew what those areas of the ordinance were restricting things, and I wanted to bring that to your attention to make sure you had enough information, because again, I couldn't just show you what the ordinance revisions that we were proposing. I wanted to show you what's in there and the impact that it has not only on the governmental entities, but also the private entities. So this, again, we initially had a language in there that said that primaries can only be governmental entities. However, I paused to see, well, what is the board's direction on this? Because it's only been that for the last, like I said, for 20-something years.
So again, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
So our position is to make it governmental, but again.
Again, it sounds
would
like
like
something that, that's your position, but the council's position, it wasn't.
No, the council's position was to make it governmental only, primaries.
That's not what you said. They said, you said they didn't support this.
They don't support my recommendation. They want it to go back to, they did not support the bullet that says private entities may continue to apply for primary. They want it to say private entities may not apply for primary.
Okay. I'm going to let Commissioner Woodward go and then Commissioner Weiss.
Thank you, Mayor. So to be clear, what you're recommending is allowing a city to choose to have a private entity be their primary COPCN.
Currently, the ordinance reads that way, yes.
Okay, so, and how are you
The
changing
caveat to
it?
that was that we added language that if a city chooses to have a private entity provide some level of EMS services, that they have to have an arrangement or some endorsement from the jurisdiction to do so.
Their own jurisdiction or us?
Their own jurisdiction.
Okay.
Because without that language, a private entity could come to us and apply for a COPCN without involving the city.
And the primary service area would be within a municipality?
It could be, the way the ordinance is written right now.
So this is making sure that if it falls within a municipality, they have some sort of say in this, or?
Yes.
Okay. But it's not prohibiting, because it was brought to my attention, if a city wanted to hire a private secondary for certain transports, that their 911, you know, it's something that's not truly an emergency, can they now apply for a secondary to kind of be a backstop for their fire rescue?
Yes,
Is that currently allowed?
Right now, a secondary could provide like BLS services for if
And this
a
doesn't
city
affect
chooses
that?
to do though. Right now, this would just say that the private has to work with the city to do that. They have to be endorsed by the city. Some sort of arrangement has to be made. They can't just come to the county without checking with the city first.
Okay, so if I understand, what you're asking from us is just to make sure that in the ordinance, city is consulted.
Correct. But the EMS Ordinance Revision Committee recommended that they make primary service providers governmental entities only. So we were trying to find a workaround to that.
Okay.
Again, seeing what maybe a city wants to do versus what the county, because we issue the license.
I would prefer the city having the option, so if I'm understanding this correctly, this is a bit muddy too.
It is
muddy.
If you're saying we will be giving the cities the option if they choose, then I would support that.
Okay.
If I'm understanding it
Yes.
correctly. Okay.
That's correct.
And is that what the council wanted?
No.
Okay.
The revision committee council, and there was some feedback from the council, some concerns on the advisory council when we presented it to them last Thursday.
Muddy is the good word here.
Yeah.
Commissioner Weiss?
Thank you, Mayor. Sounds like we're going backwards in this presentation. So currently today, a private entity can get a primary COPCN.
A primary, yes.
Okay.
From the city and the county?
From the county,
From the county.
they can get a primary CP. So yes, I agree that if they're going to get one and they're going to operate within a jurisdiction of a municipality, they should have the explicit endorsement, support, acknowledgement that that municipality supports that.
Okay.
I think that that's 100% under their jurisdiction and want to make sure that they have that.
Well stated and very clean. Thank you. I would agree.
Okay.
Anybody else? Everybody agree with that one? Okay. Was there anything else?
That's it. I just wanted to make sure we had that direction.
Mayor, if I can just add real quickly,
Sure.
two other points. So one point, just to clarify in the air ambulance, we will explore some additional information and bring it back. It seems like the board is leaning against that piece, but we'll provide you with additional information and get with the healthcare district on that. And then on the grandfathering in of the subscription services, we'll have some continued conversations with fire rescue, with the 4 impacted communities on that. But it seems like there's general consensus that grandfathering in that service that exists would be acceptable moving forward. So those were the last 2 points that I had. I just want to thank the board for your clarity in this direction. This has been extremely helpful in working through each of these items. We are absolutely clear on the direction that you all would like to go. So thank you so much. And thank you, Stephanie, your team, the EMS Council, for your work. A lot of effort went into this by staff and stakeholders, and we appreciate it. This next stop for this will go to the EMS Council. However, before that, you will get memorialized to you in writing this feedback that will come back to you before that item goes to the EMS Council. So you'll see where some of those recommendations land going forward. Thank you.
And thank you. I know there were a lot of providers in the room listening today to the conversation, so if you have any questions, you know where to direct them. Thank you so much. Thank you, staff. Much appreciated. And we'll move on to our next item.
Bye. Thank you. Have fun. Thanks.
A waste of black ink. Keep that one. Oh my God, that's a lot of black ink. Okay, youth reentry.
At least it's 2 slides per page and it's double-sided.
Exactly.
You've got me again.
No problem.
Okay, I got you.
Julian, what's his last name?
Good morning. Hi again. So the mayor had to step away for a second, so
All
if
right.
you'd like to get started,
I
feel free.
would. Thank you.
Hold on one sec, excuse me. If you're in the room, if you would please step out to have conversations or just be respectful of the speaker. Thank you.
Well, good morning again. Hopefully this will be a quicker process. Again, I appreciate the feedback from the previous presentation. It's super helpful. Well, again, for the record, my name is Stephanie Shanahan, Director of Public Safety. Starting all the way to my left is Nicole Bishop. She's Director of Victim Services and Justice Services. Jessica Hidalgo, she is Criminal Justice Manager for Public Safety. We also have to my right, Randy Taylor. She is the Reentry Program Manager. And then to her right is Julian, and he's one of our clients today. So the purpose of this presentation is to provide the Board of County Commissioners an update on the youth reentry program that was insourced to public safety back on October 1st of 2022. The board approved that. Palm Beach County houses a national model in reentry. And services are provided to youth and adult returning to Palm Beach County from a period of incarceration. Historically, services have been contracted out to the community-based agencies, and at this time, adult reentry remains contracted out to the City of Riviera Beach, the Lord's Place, and Integrated Health Services, healthcare service systems. Youth reentry, however, was insourced by the Palm Beach County Board of County Commissioners on July of 2022. Which we will be discussing in more detail in the upcoming slides. Additionally, Palm Beach County reentry staff provide oversight and support of the reentry task force, which is currently made up of 13 voting seats and the support of 50+ criminal justice experts and stakeholders in the community who strategized optimum reentry outcomes. And if I may, there are several members in the audience today that I would just like to recognize that have been, really instrumental in moving the needle for youth reentry. So if they wouldn't mind standing. And then I also would like to give a special thanks to Judge Kathleen Kroll, Dr. Barbara Gerlach, and our probation chief, Gregory Starling, and Commissioner Weiss, of course, for all of your efforts in supporting youth reentry. We really appreciate it, especially the Closer to Home initiative, which we'll be speaking about in a little bit. So, and now I'd like to turn it over to Randy Taylor, the manager of Youth Reentry Program Services.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Nope. Now she can.
All right, awesome, thank you. So in this presentation, we'll give an overview of the Youth Reentry Program model, outline the target population and its needs, and describe the scope and impact of programming and the trajectory of the program moving forward. So first, our team, just to give you a little picture, not everyone could be here today. We have a case manager in the audience, Vanessa Ramos, but we do, our team is comprised of the program manager as well as two youth reentry case managers and a community outreach specialist. Currently, the team has a wealth of experience in social services with over 40 years of combined experience serving youth in the juvenile and child welfare systems. For some background information, on July 12, 2022, the Palm Beach County Board of County Commissioners did vote to insource youth reentry programming, which was previously contracted out to a community agency. Through this insourcing, Palm Beach County developed a strategic, data-driven program model for effective and coordinated reentry services that was built upon quality case management and transition planning that begins at sentencing. This program includes continuous improvement of this reentry model to ensure full implementation of a continuum of care that meets the needs of youth and families to reduce recidivism and improve outcomes overall. Programming is built on best practices, which we'll touch on a little bit more, and elevated with innovative approaches to reentry care that creates prosperous youth and young adults in our entire community. So to give some context on data, the program is designed to serve youth returning to Palm Beach County from incarceration within the juvenile justice system. The Florida Department of Juvenile Justice refers youth to the program after youth is sentenced. Reentry services begin as soon as we receive a referral. This slide outlines the demographics at a glance for this target population from October 1, 2022 to September 30th, 2024. And we did want to highlight this 2 full year picture for you all for a comprehensive snapshot. In this snapshot, 135 youth were sentenced and referred to Palm Beach County for reentry services. Of this 135 youth referred for services, we do break down the statistics here by sex, race, and ethnicity, with the majority being male, Black, non-Hispanic. On the right, you'll see about 50% or half of these 135 youth are 18 years of age or older at the time of their release, which is a pretty significant statistic that highlights a population of young adults returning to the community from a juvenile system with significant need for support and guidance as they navigate a journey to independence. Additionally, trends have developed in the 2-year snapshot looking at this 135 youth, the number referred. 89 of them have been released to the community as of the end of this data set. And of those released, about a quarter, 27%, were graduated from high school or an equivalent at the time of release. This statistic is also significant as it highlights the need for streamlining education and employment pathways for reentry youth and young adults that will be entering the workforce upon release, along with resources to support the majority of youth returning back to an education institution of some kind to complete their secondary education. Some other variables we did want to highlight to bring to everyone's attention are that 9 youth who were released in this data set did have sexual offenses, necessitating quality wraparound services, and 7 youth released were actually parents of at least 1 child of their own. As we continue to highlight trends, 10% of youth returning from incarceration were also involved in the child welfare system, which we categorize as crossover. These youth are involved in multiple systems, and the rate of crossover youth returning to Palm Beach County from incarceration has quadrupled from 2 years prior. When youth return to the community, case managers assist in stabilizing their home environments with the youth and their families, as housing stability and positive supportive networks are critical for successful reentry over time. Nearly a quarter, 23% of youth released in the community return to live with caregivers other than biological parents, which can include child welfare placements such as foster care or independent living, and non-parent caregivers. These environments can present challenges for support, stability, and reinforcement for positive and successful reintegration. Overall, these trends help us to inform reentry program to ensure that the services are comprehensive and also meet the evolving needs of youth families and caregivers. Getting into performance metrics, upon insourcing youth reentry services, the program performance metrics were really centered upon quality engagement benchmarks. Here you'll see 3 major metrics that comprise the foundation of programming to ensure that quality contact is driving the development of relationships with youth and families that will therefore increase enrollment, sustain engagement, and promote successful program completion. This data shows you a 5-year snapshot, which includes 3 years prior to Palm Beach County insourcing the program, and then the 2 years you're seeing today, which is being highlighted in this program update. And you'll see those last 2 years, the most recent, in the light and dark blue, as fiscal years 2023 and 2024. The white triangle signify the benchmarks that we set for the program, and the red arrows signify when Palm Beach County began our insourced programming. So in the first pre-release contact, increasing the rate of pre-release contact to 97%. In the second enrollments graph in the middle, you will see the rate of enrollment into reentry programming has increased from 66% to 95%, surpassing the benchmark of 55%. And then in the third graph for successful completion of the program, the rates of completion have increased from 38% to 69%, again exceeding the benchmark of 40%. The ultimate goals for reentry program are to increase positive outcomes and to decrease overall recidivism. The best practice in reporting recidivism is to include multiple measures of reoffending over a 3-year period, such as rearrest, reconviction, and reincarceration. Fiscal year 2017 was the last comprehensive cohort of participants that were assessed that enrolled in reentry services prior to the onset of the pandemic with the previous contracted provider. Fiscal year 2023 was Palm Beach County's first full year of programming. So while the 3-year snapshot is ideal, her in-source services have only been in operation at this time for 2 full years, since October 1, 2022. So to give you a fair comparison, this visualization provides the snapshot of recidivism comparing those 2 cohorts of program participants for a 1-year analysis to provide an equitable preliminary comparison. In the first graph on the left for rearrest, the rate of rearrest, which is just a subsequent new law violation, within the first year of release has dropped from 65% to 50% in this comparison. In the middle reconviction graph, the rate of reconviction, which is a new subsequent sentence of some kind preceding or after a rearrest, within the first year of release significantly dropped from 53% to 30%. And then in the third reincarceration graph on the right, you'll see the rate of reincarceration, which is a sentence to a juvenile residential commitment facility, adult jail, or adult prison, a new incarceration, dropped from 52% to 23%. While these numbers are a preliminary comparison, the prominent reduction of reoffending is promising and supportive of reentry programming at this time. Getting into the program and what comprises it, Palm Beach County developed a youth reentry program through qualitative and quantitative data analysis and research. Through focus groups with youth and stakeholders, resource mapping, service gap analyses, case studies, community conversations, and research into evidence-based and best practices, Palm Beach County did build the foundation of this program. Case managers are the bones of the reentry programming. They facilitate service delivery through targeted case planning and the provision of support services. As you can see in this slide, the 5 major best practices in youth reentry programming that we're going to talk about today: pre-release case management. This focuses on connecting that youth and caregiver quickly after sentencing to build a rapport and start reentry case planning for critical success long term. Community outreach for families centers upon case managers using risk needs assessments and motivational interviewing to assess and reduce risk factors to meet basic needs within the home environment. Behavioral health coordination is also critical to ensure seamless integration into therapy and/or medication management to address trauma, attitudes, behaviors, harm reduction, coping, and more. Pro-social activities and skill building are utilized to provide opportunities for youth and families to engage in experiences that build skills and healthy peer associations, pro-social attitudes, positive utilization of leisure time, social skills, empathy, emotional intelligence, healthy hobbies, and more. And then lastly, independence and sustainability. As you saw in the data, our youth are young adults, and this includes exploring experiences to build skills for adapting within society, cultivating independence, and sustaining their trajectory for positive attainment. This can include vocational training, life skills training, financial literacy, employment readiness, job training, supportive employment, family planning or reunification, navigating healthcare, court advocacy, and even more. One of the main goals with insourcing youth reentry services was to more effectively allocate funding for staffing and support services that would directly impact the youth and families we're serving. Palm Beach County proposed to achieve this by shifting indirect costs to increase funding for direct care staff and support services that are meeting the needs and reducing the risks of youth. This chart compares the youth reentry budget in 2021, which was prior to insourcing the services, our proposed insourced budget for 2023, and then the actual 2024 insourced budget for that full year. Palm Beach County was able to reduce costs for indirect staff by 10%, and instead allocated those funds to increase funding for direct staff by 16%, and then increasing support services to meet the variety of needs for youth and families by 2%. Fiscal year 2021 was, like I said, that last full year of outsourced data, and then 2024 was the first full functioning year of our insourced services, to be clear. So let's get into the fun stuff. Success stories. While the improved performance metrics and the financial savings are definitely success on their own, the real impact and outcomes are most notable in the individual successes achieved by the youth and families it serves. As you can see on the right, Palm Beach County has facilitated several pro-social activities convening over 100 youth, caregivers, community stakeholders, which provided access to positive activities to improve the use of leisure time, build those relationships in the community, and learn new skills. On the left, you'll see a youth participant speaking to the community to share his experience during and after incarceration, advocating for his story. In the middle, a youth participant with his daughter worked with his case manager to develop a co-parenting plan, skills for caregiving, and coordinated support he otherwise would not have. In the bottom middle, the program worked with the United Way's Enhanced Mentoring Program, which is partially funded by the Palm Beach County Youth Services Department, to match a youth with a mentor who started working with him at our local facility, Palm Beach Youth Academy, as they continue to collaborate after release, building that connection. Additionally, Palm Beach County's organized opportunities for youth to be exposed and explore various vocational opportunities. On the left, you see youth participants who participated in a trades tour at Palm Beach State College, in which the youth spoke directly with instructors and learned about pathways towards employment they otherwise never would have considered. In the middle photo, a young participant of the program who completed community service work, giving back to veterans and vulnerable populations through our contracted partner Choice to Change, joined the Army to give back to his country. On the right, you'll see several other youth participants that graduated from high school and worked with their case managers to enter the workforce and become independent. Additionally, a very special success story I'd like to mention today is exemplified through one of Palm Beach County's earliest reentry program participants since we insourced it in 2022, and that's Julian. He's here today. He was very brave in coming today, and he's a little too nervous to speak, but he did allow me to share some of his story for him. So during his time in a juvenile residential facility, he took advantage of every opportunity to earn his diploma and completed certificates and training. So he came out ready and willing to engage in the reentry program. Through his connection in reentry and with his very supportive Judge Kroll, his efforts were really acknowledged, and he was identified as a potential candidate to work in supported employment with the clerk's office. So he actually completed a one-year internship with the Palm Beach County Clerk's Office successfully, which also led him to being employed full-time with the Public Defender's Office, which he currently works at. We wanted to highlight Julian because he is just one example of how our youth grow up to flourish in society, and they just need a little bit of extra support.
Thank you. Hold on one second. Commissioner Sachs, your light is on? Okay.
Additionally, Julian is currently attending Palm Beach State College, working on his degree while he works full-time, and we are so thankful for his success, and thanks for being here, Julian. Yeah. All right, awesome. And he is looking into his business ventures as well. All right, moving on. Thank you, Julian. So building community partnerships is critical. Palm Beach County's prioritized building those partnerships in an effort to leverage existing resources. We've partnered with more than 20 community agencies offering free resources that can meet the needs of the youth and the families. Palm Beach County's also assisted the local juvenile residential facility, Palm Beach Youth Academy, with developing a community advisory board to advise on topics pertaining to reentry youth and young adults that are locally incarcerated. Several partners listed here have committed to leveraging their own resources and expertise to provide resources to youth at Palm Beach Youth Academy, as well as those returning to the county from other facilities as we serve them post-release. One example of an exemplary partner we wanted to identify today is Families First of Palm Beach County, who has prioritized behavioral health referrals for reentry youth through their own funding for juvenile justice involved youth, which require no additional cost to Palm Beach County or families. Overall, the continuum of care and streamlined approach to reentry services is achieved through systemic collaboration and continuous improvement. To fulfill the scope of this programming, case management must begin at sentencing and prior to release, which requires collaboration with justice partners. The Florida Department of Juvenile Justice, their residential commitment programs are privatized and spread across the state's 20 circuits, with potential for youth to be incarcerated anywhere in the state. Our one facility located in Palm Beach County is Palm Beach Youth Academy, and it's out by the fairgrounds. Palm Beach County has collaborated with DJJ leadership over the last several years to allocate more youth to be placed at Palm Beach Youth Academy as part of the Closer to Home initiative, spearheaded by Judge Kathleen Kroll, who's the chair of the Reentry Task Force Youth Reentry Subcommittee. This would allow the community better access, support, and provide Palm Beach County's youth with reentry services. In May of 2024, DJJ amended Palm Beach Youth Academy's contract scope, allowing for more Palm Beach County youth to be diverted to our local facility because of the work that Judge Kroll and the community stakeholders, many that are here today, have done. As of September 2024, there were 9 Palm Beach County youth at the facility. This is the most Palm Beach County youth in over 5 years. Currently, to date, we have served 17 total youth at Palm Beach Youth Academy. As part of the ongoing conversations for systemic improvement, DJJ Secretary Eric Hall and Palm Beach County Public Safety Department leadership did meet to discuss next steps in elevating youth reentry programming at Palm Beach Youth Academy. Since then, we have developed a model approach to implementing a reentry continuum of care dedicated to the youth at Palm Beach Youth Academy that incorporates face-to-face pre-release case management and case planning, life skill groups, family reunification, community service projects, vocational exploration, pro-social activities, and other opportunities for them to gain independence. We would like to thank Adam Davis with the Palm Beach County Library System and Diana Cardona with Families First for bringing their community-based services into Palm Beach Youth Academy as part of our weekly pre-release groups. While reentry research is limited in its breadth, what does exist empirically supports education and employment as major vehicles to success for youth and young adults returning from incarceration. Linking clients to employment must be preceded by overcoming the gaps impeding high school completion, skill development, career exploration, vocational training, employment readiness, and those life skills. On the right, Palm Beach County has outlined pathways for youth to achieve these things through preparation, exposure, certification, and then employment, which is the foundation of the work taking place at the Palm Beach Youth Academy weekly pre-release groups and something we've replicated since implementing weekly groups for post-release youth in the community. As discussed in the early data slides, it is important to prepare our youth with a range of skills across emerging employment fields. Palm Beach County is developing a creative approach to cultivating pathways to career exploration and vocation individualized for all of our program clients that incorporates innovative approaches. One would be exploring virtual reality career exploration and specialized training, which would allow youth to explore different career fields and develop experience interfacing in the workforce, building skills and developing interests to drive those goals. Second, workforce development partnerships with employment experts to provide soft skills, job readiness, and opportunities for direct employment. Third, entry-level Palm Beach County jobs that can be identified as foundational career pathways for qualified youth adults to assist in building skills and experience in a quality environment while also benefiting Palm Beach County through vacancy reductions. And then lastly, developing a reentry employer network, which will provide on-the-job training and supportive employment opportunities that are individualized to allow for case management to support those young adults in guiding them through the career development as they learn. So as we wrap this up, Palm Beach County has institutionalized and memorialized its role as a reentry service provider in the juvenile justice system and the community. And it's achieved its initial goals to increase engagement, enrollment, program participation, and recidivism reduction. Increasing direct access to youth at the local level has been a local community-driven initiative for several years, which has now become a reality at Palm Beach Youth Academy through direct support of the Department of Juvenile Justice and its leadership. So moving forward for next steps in serving youth in the community, we are really going to be working on enhancing our partnerships with DJJ and other partners to solidify and memorialize all of those relationships and those processes that we've piloted and experienced over the last 2 years, develop data sharing agreements across the system for evaluation so we can bring more data to you all, and then continue to diversify and optimize those services that are best impacting the youth and the community overall for public safety.
Thank you. Commissioner Sacks, and then Commissioner Weiss.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mayor. First, I'd like to recognize two people in the audience. One is our own state senator, Jeff Clemens. You could stand. Jeff, you're a rock star, too. Good guitarist. Thank you, Jeff, for being here. And our own circuit court judge, Kathy Kroll. Judge, you have been so instrumental in starting this. How many years ago was it?
Along with you.
I don't even want to say it because we're working on it together. And but you had the vision and the passion to get this off the ground because of your love of these kids who we didn't want to see you get in court. And because of you, how many people, because they're not just kids, there are our citizens of today and tomorrow. So thank you so much, Judge Kroll. And I'd like to also commend your work on this. The most important thing, and I've been involved in criminal defense for many, many years, is what you have given them, which is an opportunity for a job, And I like to commend the clerk's office for bringing in interns. And also I look forward to our county as well as bringing in our residents, our kids, to work here as paid interns in the county, in our Palm Beach County. And I like the way that you put it out with, with engineering and with technology, because they know a lot more than we do. And certainly more than I do. So I like to commend that as well. The most important thing is let them know they belong and that we need them and they have a job. So I highly commend your efforts on this. Whatever we can do or whatever I can do to promote it, advocate it for it, count on me. Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. Commissioner Weiss.
Thank you. Thank you for the great presentation and the work you all do. A couple questions for you. First, when you look, in the beginning of your presentation, you started talking about, when they're getting, sentenced and incarcerated. And I'm sure you're tracking it, but I'd like to know, and I'm sure maybe my fellow board members, how long are they being incarcerated for? And then are you looking at stratification when you're looking at, in terms of outcomes as to, because obviously I would expect there's some kind of a relationship for length of incarceration versus outcomes.
Absolutely, and we have that information, and we could definitely look into that to see if there is a comparison with the length of time that they're engaging pre-release related to their outcomes. Absolutely.
Okay. And then on slide number 7, you talk about the graduation rates, but about 28% of them in the slide are over 18. So that starts. So then it begins again, to have a better understanding. Those would be the only kids, 17 or 18, that you would expect to be graduating, unless, under normal circumstances, obviously they move it at their own rate. But so again, that statistic actually looked. It seems small, but then when you look at the age of the young people, it actually lines up pretty closely. So that it actually might be a lot better than the way it looks. Okay. On slide number 8, we talk about the children going back to their parents. Again, I think just a little more detail in that. How many are dual parent households versus single parent households? We know, it's shown that, it's just more challenging when you're a single parent household. And then, of course, if that household, and I think in many of these cases, they're dealing with a lot of other issues just besides, a single parent household. And so just more in depth of understanding to help maybe in a predictive way so that we can start to provide services to some of these families. If we can identify them up front, that we don't end up with the children, making the mistakes that they make. Absolutely. And getting them into this, trying to keep them out of the system, I guess is really what I'm trying to say. And then on slide number 10, on sort of, what happens afterwards, we look at 50% rate of rearrest. Are those individuals or are those total number of arrests?
These are individuals.
So 50% of them are in contact again with law enforcement. Although the outcomes seem to get better, I also have and I'm just making a wild guess, that time plays a role in this as well. The longer they can stay away from connection to the legal system and law enforcement, probably a better outcome overall. Absolutely. So, understanding and how do we interrupt that cycle? And I'm sure you all are thinking about that. Absolutely. So, but what you're showing, I mean, in terms of, your results in a very short period of time is really, it makes me very optimistic about what you all are doing. And I'm sure you feel the same way. To the folks in the back there, thank you for the work you all do. And as we've noted in here, is so many people taking an interest in concern that we're actually getting better outcomes today. So that's hats off to you all. And it is about changing lives. It's about improving lives and outcomes because you're really saving lives. A life in incarceration is not a life, and not that I think any of us would want for anybody. So to interrupt this cycle and get things better, excellent, good work, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Powell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you all for your presentation. I just want to know one question, if you could go back to the performance metric slide right before that one. Right here, when you show percentages, I would just like to know what numbers are we talking about? Are we talking about 100 children, 200, 1,000? And the fluctuation, because when you look at percentages and statistics, we go from 2022 from 49% to 97% in terms of pre-release contact, 66% in enrollments in 2021 to 95% in 2024, and then 38% to 69% in successful completion. Just want to know, give me a heads up what those look like in terms of numbers. Is it, because I know numbers, if it's 10 people, 10 students, 10 youth, then that's a drastic change from if it's 1,000. So what do the numbers look like?
For those last 2 years, the referral numbers were about in the 80-ish range.
80?
Mm-hmm. And it changes every year, as you can see, and you have to consider the COVID year, of course. Okay. But it is a comparison, an equitable comparison compared to how many youth were referred and then meeting those metrics based on those percentages. But it's been consistently about in the higher, like 75 to 80 range over the last 5 years. COVID drastically decreased that, but the rest of those are pretty similar.
Does that take into account how many are incarcerated as a whole? Because I know during COVID, the number of just overall, I was at a different place in time, but in terms of the number of people who we had incarcerated in our state system, it had dropped down to like 90,000 from what was always 100,000, and maybe we're at 10,000 people less incarcerated. So are we looking at the total number in terms of those enrolled versus those, are we looking at, well, we had 40 people enrolled back then, and
We're
we only
looking
had
at the
50
total
people.
number of sentenced and then eligible for services. So it is capturing every youth that was sentenced. So no one was missed. That number was slightly lower in the COVID year because less youth were going to court to be sentenced. But other than that, there's nothing missing with the data when it comes to like any youth pending in a juvenile facility or something like that.
Okay,
Does that answer your question?
almost. So
Okay.
the percentages that you're looking at right now, you're telling me they're statistically accurate
Correct.
in terms of capturing everything that we're looking at
Absolutely.
and keeping everything consistent. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Todd?
Madam Mayor, if I could just add as we end and close out this presentation, one of the reasons why we felt very strongly about bringing this back to you is first and foremost, this was a program that wasn't working very well. And we sat down with staff, we sat down with a lot of the stakeholders that were with us here today and said, what can we do different? What can we do better? Randy Taylor was one of those driving forces behind it. She said, we can do better if we bring it in-house. Trust us, take a chance on us and do it. We did. And this slide is the proof in the pudding. And to your point, Commissioner Powell, when you think about that every youth that is available for a pre-release contact, in a year where only 68%, 49% were actually contacted in a pre-release situation. And then you look at 23 and 24, where 96 and 97% were contacted. And then you look at the metrics from this slide to carry over. I really think that the proof is in the pudding of a program that we've taken on. We've got some passionate folks that are working with us that really, really have dove in there and understand what needs to happen in this area. There aren't a lot of counties that are doing and focusing on youth reentry. Adult reentry gets a lot of the attention, the resource, but because of some of the stakeholders in our community, because of Judge Kroll and others, and because of our team, we have really attacked this with passion to make sure that we're not going to let kids be left behind in this system, and we're going to do everything we can with the resources that we have to move this forward. So that was the whole idea of bringing this before you, to show you in a short period of time what we're able to do. And I am so excited to show you what the numbers look like at the wrap up of this year and future years. And we just want to thank you for your support of allowing us to do this.
Thank you. I see no more lights on, so thank you, staff. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you for being here today and being a success story. We
Madam Mayor?
appreciate that.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I just do want to say one more thing.
Sure.
And I want to thank y'all because I know from my time in the legislature, we were advocates, and myself, Senator Clemens, Senator Sachs, even when I was in the House, and even Senator Bruzzo, we were very adamant about something called direct file of youth and trying to change those numbers here in Palm Beach County. I believe that the number one investment that anybody can make is an investment in young people. And we're able to have the opportunity to change and turn a life around. The difference between 14 and 28 is a lifetime. And you can really make an impact and make a difference on people's lives. So with that, I do want to acknowledge the work that you all do when it comes to our youth. They are our greatest investment, our greatest asset. It's something that many of us do take interest in. And it's really, really important that you all continue this work and we continue to invest in changing lives, because when it comes to the youth, those are people who will have an infinite impact on everyone else. So thank you for that. And congratulations, young man, for being able to complete the program and getting active and making the difference in other people's lives. That's really important. So I do want to commend you on that. Thank you.
Thank you all for being here. And now another topic that everybody loves, animal care and control. And I want to thank everyone that's here with animal care and control. Thank you very much. I mean, and to the volunteers. It's a tremendous thing that you all do. And, we get a lot of calls and we try to mitigate those calls. And I know recently I've had calls about the temperatures in the kennels. And I know you all have gone out there and explained some of the feelings that people get when they've been in air conditioning for a long time, and then all of a sudden they step into a kennel. But I did note that the temperatures in the kennels were, 78, 79, so within a very reasonable range. So I just wanted to put it out there to everybody that thinks our kennels are overheated. While they are not air conditioned, it's like being in a barn, but with lots of fans. So thank you for that. All righty.
All right. Well, thank you again.
You haven't had to move all day.
It's all right. I enjoy being here. So last but certainly not least, we are going to talk today about animal care and control. And again, for the record, Stephanie Shanaha, Director of Public Safety. With me today, we have all the way to my left, Dr. Kathleen Woody. She's our Chief of Veterinary Services. And of course, all you know, Jan Steele, our Director of Animal Care and Control. And then to my right is Dave Oleski, and he is Deputy Director for Animal Care and Control. And I would also like to recognize Shannon Fox, who would normally be sitting here today, but since it's a workshop, I guess she has to sit up there. But Shannon Fox is our attorney. And before we get started, I would like to just recognize all of the volunteers, the advocates, our partners that are in the audience today. I know they came here to show support. And obviously, you all have been in contact with them at some point, and we just really appreciate the partnerships and the advocacy and the volunteer work that they provide to us here at the shelter. So this presentation was actually a request from the Board of County Commissioners back in January to provide an overview of all the services that we have to offer here in Palm Beach County. So we're here to do that. Moving on to the next slide. Oh, I think I'm driving. I'll drive today.
Dave can do it.
All right. So this presentation is always fun because we add our furry friends to it. And actually, do we have?
I was going to say, we have a
our
furry friend in the audience.
We do. I do need to recognize. Sorry.
So this is Elaine. No, we have Erin and Elaine here. Elaine is our 9-year-old spayed female. She has been great on going on doggy day outs, including to the medical examiner's office. So here's a wonderful dog. If anybody is looking for a great
All right, we need the
family
camera to
dog.
pan over there, or you need to
want her to
come
walk behind?
closer.
Can they?
Come on. There we go.
Can they walk
wait.
behind?
Oh, can't see you.
Oh, go back. Go.
There you go.
There.
Great idea.
We'd like to get this puppy adopted, folks. So anybody that's watching, there you go.
This is Elaine, and she is being shown by Erin. Thanks to BCC, we were able to add an adoption counselor, and this is what Erin's job is to sell these dogs to people, to talk about how wonderful they are, and she does a great job of it.
Well, maybe at 9:30 at every BCC meeting, we could just have a pet parade, and this way, I think if folks could actually see the pets that we have,
They would be amazed.
all adopted.
In fact, one of the last ones that we took to medical examiner's office was adopted the very next day. When Todd did a administrator's minute, that dog was adopted the very next day. So the more we get them out here, the better we can get the adoption rates up.
And as one of the requests from our volunteers was the Doggy Day Out program, we started that not only in our shelter, but it's now expanded to other departments, as Jan mentioned, to medical examiner. We're going to be starting it at the EOC. I know some of the commissioners have expressed interest. So it's just a day that the dog can get out of the shelter, get some free time, get that love from a human, and then they'll have to go back. But if there's an overnight, I think, opportunity, we'll make that happen.
We do have doggy overnights also.
All right, so getting started, our mission is to ensure the protection and advocacy of companion animals and the education and support of the humans caring for them. This is a complex relationship between educating and enforcing compliance and all things animal related. And as such, it requires all of our staff, volunteers, and partners working close together. The division is divided into 4 sections, but all of them must work hand in hand with each other to accomplish our life-saving goals. The common theme in animal care is that everything is interconnected. Animal care is the only open admission shelter here in Palm Beach County. Open admission means that our shelter cannot refuse to take in any animal from the public or in assistance to local, state, or federal law enforcement. One of the most impactful of those strategic priorities is the Countdown to Zero initiative, adopted by the board in 2014 and extended for another 10 years in 2024. This initiative is to end euthanasia of adoptable animals. The generally accepted standard across the U.S. for this is 90% or better of all animals leaving the shelter alive, and is often referred to as the save rate, and Jan will go into that in a few minutes. Many people also refer to the shelters who maintain a 90% or better save rate as a no-kill shelter. In the first 10 years of the Countdown to Zero resolution, the save rate at animal care went from 71% for dogs and 21% for cats, and 87% for cats. I said that wrong.
Right.
87%
To 87%.
to 87% for cats. Yeah, sorry.
For dogs
71% for dogs and 21% for cats, to 87% for dogs and 84% for cats. So we improved our save rate. That was the message I was trying to send. Vital to these improvements is the community sheltering model. Nothing this important can be achieved without involving the members of our community, as the euthanasia of adoptable pets is not an ACC problem, but it's a community problem. What has the community sheltering model brought to ACC, and where does that take place to us compared to the rest of Florida? Florida is tied for third in the nation as having the highest pet euthanasia level. There is a tremendous push across the country to improve this rate, and as can be seen here, there are already 18 counties in Florida that have already achieved 90% or better save rates. 2023 was the first year that Palm Beach County ranked as a nearly no-kill shelter, and we've improved every year for the last 5 years, even when the nationally adoption rates were declining. Comparing apples to apples, this chart shows a closer comparison to 8 other Florida open admission municipal shelters. Comparing just the intake of dogs and cats, we are still one of the larger county facilities in Florida, one of the few that also takes in livestock, pocket pets, and exotics. If you include those other agencies, ACC actually has an annual intake of almost 12,000 animals. And I'd now like to turn it over to Jan, because I know you guys want to hear from her.
So filtering for the Florida government shelters only, you'll see the arrow pointing to the right side of the slide. We're ranked number 5 for the shelter that has the most intakes. To the left of the slide, under gross outcomes, we are significantly behind on our public adoptions, but we have more animals transferred out of our shelter through our partnerships with other shelters and rescues in both Palm Beach County and outside the county and the state of Florida. When the national adoption rates have been going down, our partnerships continue to save lives by sending pets to local, statewide, and out-of-state rescues and shelters that have adopters looking for pets. So even though we're still euthanizing more animals than we want to, these tough decisions involve everyone who has contact with these animals. It starts with what the boots on the ground see and experience with each animal, and as issues are identified, either the veterinary or the behavior staff are brought in to assess, treat, and advise on developing a pathway to see if we can place that animal in our adoption program, or if the issues are beyond our capacity for care. The term capacity for care means, do we have the physical space to house the animal? Do we have enough animal care staff to take care of the animal? Is the medical problem one that we can treat within our current limited clinical facility? Is the behavior one that we can safely work with? Animals are put on a path that works within our capacity for care and provides what we feel is the best chance for survival if it is safe to do so. Sometimes this means we put an animal on our urgent rescue request website, which is open to all of our rescue partners and members of the public. The deadlines are usually 48 hours unless the medical condition is so severe that the veterinary staff feel the animal must be placed within a shorter period of time. Often the deadlines are extended as our staff and volunteers work to network the pet to find placement. These extensions are fluid based on how many animals we have at any one time. For instance, this morning we had 190 dogs and 183 cats. We are 125 above our capacity, so we have no wiggle room right now. For instance, on this average day in May, this is an example where it's neither on the high end or the low end of what we experience daily. Using just the dog spaces as an example, you can see that every green box indicates 1 dog in a kennel, red means 2 dogs are sharing a kennel, and white means the kennel is empty. On this day at 11 a.m. when we open to the public, it appears to most people that we have plenty of space. But from the previous day's late intake and the overnight drop-offs from field and law enforcement, we already have 11 dogs in incoming, which should only hold 10, so we've placed one in a rolling crate. By doubling up on some of the dogs that get along, we're able to save 10 kennel spaces, even though it's recommended that each animal only have their own space. This becomes vital on most days, as once all the dogs in incoming have had their medical processing, we would have only had 2 kennels available once we open up if we hadn't doubled up those 20 dogs. And given that we get on an average 12 to 15 dogs per day, we would have had no place to put them. Cats, horses, goats, ferrets, pigs, everybody, it's the same story. We are constantly juggling spaces to make sure we can deal with the animals coming in. We receive animals from law enforcement daily due to arrests and people being hospitalized where there are no next of kin available, so we make it a practice to always have 4 or 5 kennel spaces available to support law enforcement response. Speaking of our partnership with law enforcement, our field section is our primary code compliance group, and they're the liaison with law enforcement. Whether it's helping fire rescue to save a kitten in a confined space, working with parks and PBSO to address a cat hoarding case on a derelict sailboat in the intercoastal, or going out at night to trap cats for TNVR with community trapper volunteers, our field staff do a little of everything. They are responsible for the enforcement of our ordinance, investigations into neglect, abuse, dangerous animals and manner of keeping, dealing with nuisance animals, potential rabies exposures, and the quarantining of such animals, and working with law enforcement when individuals are arrested to assess and remove animals as needed. We have officers on duty 7 days a week who cover 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. on the road, and on-call officers from 8 p.m. to 7 a.m. to handle emergencies and requests from law enforcement. Every animal control officer, referred to as an ACO, must go through formal training and certification set up by the state, be trained on humane euthanasia, court procedures, forensics, rabies management, safe animal handling, and legal documentation. Every officer must be able to safely deal with rabid animals, disgruntled community members, aggressive dogs, defensive owners, delicate newborn kittens, and a host of large and small livestock and exotic animals. To better support our community, we've developed foster programs to leverage our community partners and help spread the word that animal issues are community issues. Some of these fosters are just for a few hours, like our Doggy Day Out program, where stressed out dogs get a one-day vacation in someone's home or office. Others may last for months if someone takes a litter of newborn kittens home to bottle feed them for 6 weeks and then transitions them to solid food while giving them socialization skills so they make good pets. Then they come back to ACC for adoption. Last year, thanks to the board, we were able to hire our first foster coordinator, and in the short time she's been in the position, she's been able to increase our foster hours to 24,142, the equivalent of over 12,000 days that animals were not in the shelter. With an average length of stay of fostering of 16.95 days, this has saved the county over $350,000 of sheltering costs. For those dogs remaining in our shelter, we've expanded our program for dog play groups, aligned with the national best practice of every dog, every day, receives social and physical interactions. We partner with Dogs Playing for Life, who recently came out for a week to train all of our new staff and volunteers, funded by a grant from the Animal Farm Foundation. Prior to this training, notes on dog compatibility, socialization, and behavior type were minimal. Now, these more in-depth notes are vital in making decisions on the suitability of dogs for individual adopters and are the greatest indicator of the well-being of the animals housed at the shelter. Dogs that are in play groups multiple days per week are more likely to get adopted, are healthier and better behaved in their new homes, and are less likely to decompensate in the kennels. To market these wonderful dogs and cats, we do as much public outreach as we can. We have one person to publicize, coordinate, and manage our events, so we rely heavily on our volunteers. We've taken dogs and cats out to hotels, car dealerships, libraries, and virtually anywhere we can to highlight the fantastic animals we have ready for adoption. Last year, we ran over 70 events covering 122 days, with some focused on adoptions, some on targeted TNVR, and some were solely educational.
And I'm just saying you should have them at DMV.
You know, that's not a bad idea. I just got to figure out how to do it. Leveraging these positions, or this position, we rely heavily on social media. Last fiscal year, we had over 2.8 million hits on social media, which is up over 1 million hits from the period just prior to hiring our public relations specialist. An example of what this looks like is highlighting one of our spay-neuter partners, Furry Friends, who did free transport of community cats from a high-risk trailer park in Green Acres, where our field and clinical staff work hand-in-hand with the Green Acres municipal staff, PBSO, and the trailer park management to spay and neuter all of the community cats in the park. We had identified this neighborhood as one where we were receiving lots of kittens from each year, and many of the residents were unable to take advantage of our free TNVR services for multiple reasons. Hundreds of cats can be sterilized in events like this, which means thousands of kittens won't be born in unsafe and unhealthy conditions. Our C2Z program relies heavily on a well-staffed veterinary clinic. Nationwide, veterinary services are less and less available to the average pet owner due to rising fees, the consolidation of private vet practices into corporate practices, more vets retiring, and not enough graduating from vet schools to replace the existing needs, let alone the increase in pet ownership. ACC has addressed this gap by increasing our partnerships with other rescues and shelters that can provide veterinary care. At the same time, we're implementing low-cost but highly effective changes in our treatments. Cold laser treatments that are non-invasive and are easily done to reduce inflammation, improve healing. CR boxes reduce respiratory disease transmission. We've expanded our heartworm treatments with our partners, increasing the life-saving for dogs, and we've also implemented FAS meds, fear, anxiety, and stress medications, for all of our animals, which are incredibly low-cost options that greatly improve the well-being of our animals. We are also involved on both the state and national level in furthering animal-specific legislation, best practice standards, and public health monitoring. Sterilization was and still is a huge part of our Countdown to Zero initiative and is critical to reducing the number of animals entering our shelter. ACC first began contracting with Peggy Adams Animal Rescue League in 2015 to assist with surgeries. Then, thanks to the board, we've added Tri-County, Furry Friends, Barky Pines, and Darbster over the last few years as additional support for surgeries for our at-risk animals. When we've been unable to fill the full-time veterinarian positions, we've pivoted to adding both contract veterinarians and part-time veterinarians who practice in the local area. It should be noted that the figures in the slide do not include the thousands of additional surgeries that are performed by other shelters, rescues organizations, and private veterinarians that are not contracted through ACC. Surgeries are not the only mission-critical service we provide to the county. During emergency activations, we are responsible for setting up, manning, and managing the pet-friendly shelters. Housing hundreds of animals for the duration of an emergency, they're staffed with animal and clinical staff from ACC who can manage the care of stressed-out pets. And while we're doing this, we also need to staff and secure our existing facility and all the animals in it, while our field officers respond to dozens of calls related to the emergency. Part of the preparation for storms is the utilization of our new foster coordinator and public relations specialist to get the word out about storm fosters, our new storm troopers. Our last emergency activation for Hurricane Milton saw us send out to foster and rescue 230 dogs and cats in less than 18 hours, which was amazing. All of them ended up being adopted, either by their foster parent or soon after the return to the shelter, because the foster parent gave us such wonderful notes. Again, pet overpopulation is a community problem, and the best solutions come from our community involvement. And who better to exemplify our community than our volunteers? Last year, we had 367 volunteers who contributed the equivalent of 7 full-time staff. These volunteers help ACC do more than just warehouse animals. They played with, walked, cuddled, bathed, and cleaned up after the animals. They are also our community reps at numerous events, and they've used their personal and social media contacts to help us market the animals at the shelter in order to find them good homes. They are major contributors to our shelter, our continuing increase in life saving. Our top 10 volunteers, based on hours served, have each given hundreds, if not over 1,000 hours each, which doesn't include the time that they also contribute fostering pets, blasting social media to get the word out, and representing ACC to those who just want to say all they do is kill animals. by telling what really happens at ACC and how hard everybody works. Our life-saving efforts are vastly improved by partnering not only with our volunteers, but with other like-minded nonprofits and corporations that support our mission. Not only do we have over 120 individual rescues and shelters that help by pulling animals that we either don't have room for or don't have medical capacity for, or pets that can't take the shelter noise and congestion, they also spread the word about what ACC is doing. 5 of our partners also provide sterilization services to the public, funded in part by contracts with the Board of County Commissioners. These contracts have helped our county tremendously by providing surgeries that are keeping our pet population partially in check. Additional partners have been providing in-kind services, low-cost food and medicines, staff training and support, laboratory equipment, small grants, tools, and supplies to help save more animal lives.
And to wrap it up, we're going to talk a little bit about the budget. The adopted 2025 budget for animal care and control is $16.8 million, including $3.2 million in revenue, and supports 130 positions. This slide represents actuals from 2019 through 2024. Since 2019, the budget has grown by $7.2 million, a 75% increase. Of this increase, 71% is attributable to personnel service. Thank you to the board for adding 22 positions. 19 was through the budget process and 3 were reclassifications. The rise in operating expenses is primarily due to higher costs for contractual services, security services, building repair and maintenance, materials and supplies, and medicine. Of the $3.2 million in budgeted revenue, 2.7 or 85% comes from tag registrations. County ordinance requires that all dogs and cats 4 months of age and older must be current on their rabies vaccine and county license tag. The fee is $15 for sterilized pets and $75 for non-sterilized pets. Additional revenue sources include medical treatments, commercial permits, and impound fees. Of the $16.8 million in expenses, this chart provides a breakdown by section program, including administration, shelter, field, clinic, and spay-neuter, as well as by expense categories such as personnel, operation, and capital. Donations are also tracked separately. As shown, personnel expenses make up the largest portion of the budget. The contract for animal licensing service falls under administration, contributing to their higher operating expenses. In addition to these summary charts, we also have additional information related to the budget that we can give you if needed. But we wanted to keep this concise and comprehensive.
Field means?
Our field staff that goes out on the calls.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
And that concludes our presentation. Jan or the team and I are more than happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I think we just need to figure out a way to get the animals in here so that we can get a little PR for them. Maybe adopt a pet before a BCC meeting, or whatever we can figure out, Todd. So because I think once folks see the animals that we actually have, it's not what they're thinking.
That's true. These animals are amazing. I know there's a lot of bias against pitties and pitty mixes, but they are some of the lovable, most smushable faces you will ever see. And most of them, honestly, are little land hippos. They want to lay on your couch and they want to chill. They're great dogs. And kittens, I got cats, I got anything you want. Yes, we've always got stuff, yep.
Commissioner Sachs, your light is on.
Thank you so much, Mayor. And I don't know if Captain Eric Davis is here today from PBSO, but he has your idea. And we can take a dog for the day here in the County Commission. And I have one just right for the mayor. I was thinking about her, or him.
What is it, a Great Dane? No, kidding.
But it is, and I just want to say this, that I want to thank Director Janet Steele, and also Captain Blakeman, who's not here today, but is watching, I'm sure, and Captain Dave Oleski for all you do. Our shelter sisters, some of who are here today, and Shannon Fox, our county attorney. She is working on a legal document called the Foundation, so that we can establish, when people want to give money to animal care and control, they can contribute to our foundation, and that's a fund that we can use to further the interests of our animal care and control, and I want to thank you. Also, I want to mention Alexia Cox, our state attorney. We had a meeting with her a couple of months ago. Todd was with us. Todd's been wonderful in this, too. And she has put aside 2 prosecutors specially for crimes against animals. I think Shannon Fox was with us as well. So we're really pleased that when law enforcement sees something and there's an abuse to an animal, that goes immediately to her office for investigation, criminal investigation, and prosecution, and many times incarceration. So that's the greatest deterrent against some of these cases, and I want to mention her as well. But as for your request, Mayor, Captain Eric Davis from PBSO has 3 trainers with over 70 years of experience, and they get therapy dogs for use. You know, when I heard medical examiner's office, I said, why do we? Then when you think about what goes on at the ME's office, you realize that a big furry animal there is a wonderful therapy. Also for our schools, for our hospitals, and now for the county commission. We'll be able to have a dog for the day, or a kitty cat if Commissioner Weiss would show us which one to get. But I think we're all in this together. We've been working with Todd on this and all of you on making this just a very special place. And as Director Steele said, this is a community event. This is for all of us. And I just can't say enough of what you all do and how and with Todd's help, we've included the whole community, including the state attorney's office and PBSO and our veterans groups as well. So thank you all, whatever we can do to help, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Woodward.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for the presentation today and for the work that you do. I think most of us up here are animal lovers and some dogs and cats, but thank you for that. All of my dogs have always been rescues, and I tell people, you know, they really are the best. I don't know what they are, but their hearts are just so big and wonderful. Even the little guy that I got from you guys recently. But I wanted, if you could, just to talk a little bit more about the play groups that you're doing now and how that's been helpful, because socializing is a big part of this. And could you just expound a little bit on that?
Sure. So what we were doing before is we had a very minimal behavior staff who tried to rotate animals out, but we used our volunteers a lot. With the addition of a grant from Animal Farm Foundation, we brought Dogs Playing for Life out, got all of our staff, all of our volunteers trained up on running a play group. And a play group is wonderful because it allows the dog to be a dog. We're not out there walking it, forcing it to do what we want. We're allowing the dogs to play with each other, run around, but it is controlled in that if anybody gets a little out of hand, we can separate them. We also use that to build the profiles. So we find out we've got different play styles. The gentle and dainty, there's rough and rowdy, we've got hall monitors. So all of those little titles help us figure out what dog fits best with what family. So when Erin is meeting with a family and they say, I want this little dog, she can say, well, what's your family like? Do you have little kids? Do you have big kids? We actually interview and find out about the family first, or the home if it's a single person. Do they want to go out and run? They need a high energy dog. We got a Malinois for you. There you go, great. If it's somebody who needs a couch potato because they're in their 60s and they really just want to have that, they lost their spouse, they want to cuddle her, we've got a couch potato for you. So running these play groups, we find out what the dogs are truly like when they're outside of a little metal cage. Because when you come to our shelter, it does not show the animals to their best side. They're in little metal cages. They can't see the other dogs. They can hear things. It's disconcerting. You put them in a play group, the true dog comes out. We have those notes then that we can go back to, and whoever's on that day can read through the notes from our behavior folks and from our volunteers and help pick out the best dog so we can start reducing our returns. We don't want dogs to come back to us, but we always have a door open, so we don't want anybody to keep a dog that they don't want. but we're trying to do a better match.
So is this something, because we will be working on renovating expansion of animal care and control, is this something that you see it needs to actually have more space and availability to do?
So one of the things that we have done when I came on and we started looking at the plans, I came on about 3.5 years ago, and we were looking at the plans. I did not want to tear apart any of our play yards. We've actually expanded, and all of our new kennels will have their own play yard areas. We are making sure with our vet's guidance that when we have walking paths, that the dogs from the kennel that are sick are not walking on the same paths as the dogs that are ready to go out to be adopted. So we're expanding all of our walking paths and our play yards, because we want to have 3 different things for all of our dogs. They should have play yards where it's group dog on dog, they can play and be a dog. We want quiet yards, and that's where oftentimes you'll see our volunteers in these beautiful videos and photos of them cuddling the dogs. That's in the quiet yard. That's just that making sure they have good behaviors to go to home. And then there's the walk, taking that edge off, the energy, getting out, sniffing, checking on the female as they go around. That's another important part. But they all have different things that they do at different times. For instance, in the heat, we don't run play groups or have people walk after 11 a.m. It's just too hot. But quiet time, yeah, they can go into the side yards and do quiet time. So the new facility will have all 3 of those for every kennel.
Well, thank you very much. I had to sneak out real quick, but to get a picture with Elaine.
Good.
So we'll be posting on social media. And
Wonderful,
hopefully get her
thank you.
some- if everyone's, look at social media later, you'll see it. So.
And that's how
thank
we-
you for bringing her, because that does help. And I love the idea of us even, especially like proclamation days. Maybe we have a little, because we get a big crowd on proclamation days, and just something to, let people see the types of dogs that we do have. And it's just a sample. If they don't see one they like there's please come and visit. So thank you for that. And any ideas to help us get the word out to get these animals adopted would be appreciated.
Well, and that's wonderful, because that's how we've been able to slowly inch our adoption rate up, is because even though nationally it's been going down, ours has been going up because we've leveraged all of our partners, our volunteers, our rescues. I'm absolutely happy to have anybody come in, take videos of the animals, take them out for a doggy day out, post the video. That's how people will see what the dog is really like, not in a little metal cage.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Weiss.
Thank you. Thank you for the update and presentation. Thank you all for the work that you do and the staff that is back at ACC and out on the road for everything that they do. So please share that with them. I also want to thank our rescue organizations and the partnerships. I know my wife and I, we interact a lot with them directly, and we know, she's watching what's getting pulled from ACC by who, and then she'll then follow up and go get them. Also, the Palm Beach Post, they do their weekly piece where they identify animals available for adoption, so that's wonderful too. One of the things and I think we've talked about this, but my private vet will not spay or neuter anymore. And I think that's not untypical. I think it's something that financially doesn't make sense for them anymore. And so we really have to rely on ACC and the rescues to do that work today. It was not inexpensive when he used to do it, but he just now refuses. He says, it just doesn't make sense. His time is better spent doing something else. So it really is important that you all have these relationships and that you're able to do so much. And then lastly, the innovative programs that you all are introducing, that's great. That really is, and some great ideas, and it sounds like it's returning for you as well in terms of being able to find homes and get these animals adopted. So thank you all.
Well, thank you, Commissioner. And just as an aside, the amount of veterinary work that we do for the public for free, if I went and cross-referenced it with current vet costs with private vets, we're running between $12 and $14 million a year of free services that we offer. And to your point, is because they are now charging for a spay or a neuter anywhere from $800 to $4,000. And we do those like they're the bread and butter for our vet staff.
Wow. Thank you. Quick question. How can folks donate supplies or toys or treats who may not be able to foster or adopt?
That is a great question. We have our Amazon wish list. They are also welcome to, we do receive donations right now. I have a donation account that we are stashing our money away that we use for when we expanded our play yards, when we need to do things that are outside of our existing budget. So they can either send us the direct payment or they can go to the Amazon wish list and choose the items. Right now, because it's kitten season and we're having a really tough kitten season, we are looking for a lot of kitten supplies.
Okay. Thank you very much. I see no other lights on. And so I guess that would conclude the ACC presentation. Thank you so much for being here. And I do know that Alicia, my chief of staff, is always talking about Operation Work Puppy. So there you go.
We'll be in contact.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, we are at the end of our workshop. And just want to know if there's any more board discussion or board questions or board comments. And if not, we will be meeting at 1 o'clock for our shade meeting upstairs. At 1 o'clock. Yes. And yes. So we can adjourn, except I see 3 lights on. Before we adjourn, okay. Commissioner Weiss?
Yes, thank you. I'd like to move and ask for approval of an off-site proclamation for August 2nd, recognizing the 63rd anniversary of Jamaica's independence.
Second.
We have a first from Commissioner Weiss, a second from Commissioner Powell. All in favor? All
Aye.
opposed? See that motion carries 6-0. Anything else? Commissioner Sachs.
Thank you. I'd like to have, as a board direction, I'd like to ask that we look at our HR director's background in hiring or at least interviewing folks who have served our military. I'm talking about veterans as well as those who present disabilities. And I wonder if we could do this maybe in September, take a look at to see our numbers. I think it would be a good thing to do.
Thank you. Any objection from the board? This is for a report, correct?
It's for a report on how many veterans have been interviewed for employment at Palm Beach County, as well as those who are qualify for ADA, those who have disabilities.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
question on that. Does that, how is that impacted by the ordinance that we passed recently?
We'll have to make sure that there's no legal ramifications.
I don't understand, Commissioner Powell.
We recently passed an ordinance with regard to any grants and with regard to federal language that outlines different diversity, different disabilities. All of those things were in the ordinance. So I'm not sure if that is in line with what we passed here.
Well, you know, may I respond?
Sure.
Right before you were in the Florida legislature, there was a certain state senator that passed a law that veterans would get preferences in employment by any government entity, that's schools, any government entity, including Palm Beach County government. And that has nothing to do, in my mind, with DEI, if that's what you're referring to. And the same thing, ADA just celebrated 35 years of working with those with disabilities to get employment. And that has nothing to do with DEI. So I think that this is something that we need to look at, because I can't find, I have looked myself, my staff has looked. We cannot find any numbers on how we are complying with that state law for veterans, as well as for those with disabilities. So I'd like to see what we have, since I can't find it, and I'm a county commissioner. So maybe we could find it through this report. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Powell, your light is on.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to request permission for an off-site proclamation for Comcast Month on August the 13th.
I have a motion from Commissioner Powell, a second from Vice, I already got a second from the Vice Mayor. All in favor, all opposed, see that motion carries 6-0. Thank you. Anything else? That's it?
No, I think
Hold
the
on.
clerk.
Oh, I'm sorry, just to Commissioner Sachs's request, we can get something in writing to the BCC more quickly even than September. If you'd like for us to get that to you, you'll have an opportunity to review that, and then in August, when you come back, if you'd like a presentation in September, based on that, we can proceed from that if that is acceptable to you.
May I, Mayor? My interest in this, Mr. Bonlaren, is to know how we have complied with those two laws.
Okay.
I don't need a lengthy report,
Okay.
or I don't need a staff presentation. I need numbers.
Okay.
I need to know, and if you think we could get that in August, I would really very much welcome that to all of us.
I'll work with the HR director, and
you.
we'll get that to you as quickly as we can.
Excellent.
Yep.
And do we need to get a date certain, or are we
No,
just sometime in August?
Yeah, we'll get it to you as quickly as we can compile it, and I'll make it a priority that we get you what we can. Now, there will be some information like ADA and those kinds of things that might be protected in terms of identities and those types of things of individuals, but we certainly can, in the aggregate, we can share probably some of that information for you.
My information that I've received and researched on the issue with ADA is that if somebody presents a disability, for example, they come in, they've lost their legs in an accident, or they're blind, and they present themselves with this disability, that's not privileged or confidential.
Okay.
That is part of their employment application.
Okay.
And that's what I'm looking for. And I would like to have a copy given to each one of us. I don't need a staff report. I just need a report on those statistics.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr.
Got it.
Bonlaren.
Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I don't see Isami in the room anymore. A few months ago, or a couple months ago, I had Isami look at a water utilities property that isn't potentially being used. And there's a huge area, and I actually had a meeting with Administrator Bonlaren prior to him being our interim regarding some space or very vast areas that do not have any cell coverage out in the area. And so identifying a property for water utilities, there was a conversation, from my understanding, that had been had that it could be co-located, a cell tower on a property that we currently would use for a future expansion of water utilities without really any problems. And so I would like to request the board's permission to put out a lease, to lease that potentially to a cell tower company, and, obviously with the understanding of it would blend into the area.
Commissioner Sachs.
I think that anytime we can increase communication. Now, my limited information on this is that cell towers bring a lot of revenue. And if that's revenue to the county, that's double benefit. One, we get a benefit to communication, and second, we get revenue.
Thank you.
So I think that that's something certainly worth looking into, and possibly we could even look at this for other properties owned by the county, that we could use those cell towers. So absolutely, I think it's a great idea. Dual benefit.
Thank you.
I think the board is definitely in agreement with that. So, Todd?
If you'd like, we can bring back something to you at the August meeting to that, and that way we can kind of share with you the location, the spot, and then proceed forward.
And the different types of towers, so
Towers, yeah.
it's not just,
We'll work on that for the August meeting for you.
thank
Okay.
you.
Great,
problem.
thank you. Before we wrap this up, I do want to send prayers to the Casello family. Rep Casello passed away over the weekend. I'm sure everyone has seen it in the paper. He suffered a massive heart attack, and he he will be missed, and I know that the county is going to look at some way of putting his name on something. So I know we'll be doing that in conjunction with Fire Rescue or Delray Fire Rescue, so that would be appreciated, I'm sure. And Isami, you're in the room. I think you might have heard your name called. Do you want to come on down a sec? Yes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On the passing of our beloved friend, Representative Joe Casello, I just wanted to bring a note to your final comment. Right before he passed, due to the incredible effort of Administrator Bonlaren, it was whispered in his ear that we would do what we can, along with Fire Rescue, to name some sort of vehicle after him. So he was able to hear that, and that was one of his requests before he passed.
Thank you. Isami, hi.
So, good afternoon. I heard the comment regarding cell towers, so there are two things I can offer. There's an agenda item that this board had asked us to put together, if you remember, regarding HAP centers, cell towers, and then restrictions on properties that the county has conveyed to non-for-profits, right? Yep. That agenda item is ready. We were truly trying to bring it over in July, but our colleagues from HAP Center were not available. So that agenda has been prepared, has been signed, and at their request will come back in September. At that time, you will see a full overview of what has been county policy to date, and we'll give you an opportunity to give staff direction moving forward. And then I believe also comment regarding water utilities property came up. Am I right, Vice Mayor? Yes. That property is currently county-owned. It's a property that has been set aside for water utilities use, meaning to say that our colleagues from water utilities do believe that in the future they will need to site additional infrastructure on that parcel. However, nothing precludes us from being creative and still keeping the land, but entering into an agreement, and I'm saying it very broadly, intentionally. It might be a ground lease. It might be some sort of legal mechanism whereby we don't dispose of the property. We can still use it for water utilities, but we might be able to allow for other uses to coexist. So those are the two things that I can offer.
That's great. Vice Mayor?
Did you need further board direction, clarification?
For the water utilities?
Yeah, that site.
If this board has an interest for staff to put out an RFP towards that use, then we will need direction to be able to do that.
And if you like, Madam Mayor, when we bring back that HAB item in the September meeting, if you would like, we can do the same with that, or if you want to move more quickly, we can
No,
move more quickly.
I'd rather just move forward. Thank you.
I think we're good.
Mayor, if I may?
Yes, sure.
Yes, I think that what Vice Mayor brought up was very good, and I think we should focus on that. I don't know how many companies do this, but that RFP would be appropriate at this time, and I think we'll deal with that. And the HAB Center has other issues that are a little more complex, and I don't like to combine the two, but excellent idea. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Thank you, Mayor, for that.
Isami, before you leave, I just want to say an additional thank you. The fire station on Donald Ross Road, I know is a heavy lift. And I mean, I've had people in my office since the day I walked in about coverage in that area. And the fact that staff was able, and our fire department were able to keep their head down, keep it quiet, because once somebody knows the county is looking at a piece of property, that price goes up. And we worked really hard to keep this under wraps, and just the fact that we will have service with a quicker response time to so many people, because that is quite a large service area between East Point, Old Marsh, Marsh Point, and Palm Beach Country Estates. Thank you very much for helping make that happen. Much appreciated from District 1. And with that, I will see everybody upstairs at 1 o'clock. Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.